It's your show, Vulcan. Come on, man.
And took it out, so it's still cooking.
What's good, good people? Thanks for joining us today on the Vulcan Soapbox. We've got a very inspiring panel today, very diverse perspectives. We're gonna have a great time today. So we're gonna be doing this one a little bit different. I'll be helping to carry the conversation. We always, amongst ourselves in the Vulcan Soapbox, painted as like Joe Rogan and Jamie. So I'm gonna be more Joe Rogan in the conversation today. It's gonna be more of Jamie. So I would be one helping moderate the conversation just because we got so many people and we got a lot to cover. So excited today. We got a lot of good topics to get into. And I want to give everybody a chance to kind of introduce themselves a little bit so we can start with you, man, on the street. You're on mute right now.
I'm the man on the street. Hey. Got my own YouTube channel, The Man on the Street Show in the background. Make sure you check me out. Hey, just happy to be here, man. Thank you all. Thank you all, my brothers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cola, what you got? Do you need more time? What you got?
I stay ready. I stay ready.
There we go.
I'm just here tonight, enjoying the scene. Got a new app coming out, Audit Vault AI coming out. Y'all gonna check me out?
That's what's up. T Reason.
Hey, what's going on? I see we got a stack house tonight. We got a full panel. We got some good topics, so hopefully we can get through everything with how many voices gotta get on the mic. So yeah.
Yes, sir. Dane.
Yeah, I'm muted. See, I wanted to be just like Man on the Street, so just call me Dane on the Street now, I guess. But no, I'm Dane Snyder, and I'm happy, and profoundly shocked to be called back to this podcast. I got a YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook. I got Rumble, Dane Snyder, and some numbers behind it. But trust me, there ain't but one Dane in the world. And again, I'm happy to be here. And I'm glad there's more people here this time. So T Reason have other people to abuse on screen.
All right, Aki, what's the deal?
Well, it is actually my show night, and I'm not doing my show because I'm on this show. But I'm going to go ahead and do my intro. Welcome back to Good and Crazy News in the Vulcan Soapbox, y'all. It's your boy, Aki, and I'm back with another episode.
Yes, sir. Everybody out there, check it out. And then Wade, first time on the show. Excited to have you on.
First time. I'm pretty happy to be here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun night. All
right. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. The first topic we're going to be talking about, it just hot off the presses, just found out about it yesterday. So Kanye has issued an apology, and in this apology, he apologized to the Little Hat community, the Jewish community, however you want people to say it, depending upon the social media platform you're on. And he also apologized to the Black community. And so, so if you put the question up there, if you're not familiar with what's going on, then you don't have to participate in this part right here. But for those who do, the question is, do you believe the Black community is owed an apology from Kanye? And we're just going to do it, starting with the man on the street and then working our way down to Cola, all the way down to Wade. So we'll start off with the man on the street, and everybody can just answer, because we're going to get into the conversation, but just starting it off, do you believe the Black community is owed an apology? Give yes or no, and then we're going to move on to the next person. So man on the street, what you got?
That's kind of a tricky question. I don't think he owes it an apology. I think that the way that he went about the situation has a lot of people that, like myself, concerned. Is it an apology, or is it because he got an album coming out?
Got you. Okay, Cola, what you got?
It's Kanye. He crazy. He's not a representation, but he's there. He's relevant in so many ways. It's crazy.
So you think that he owes the Black community an apology? Yes or no?
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay. T Reason, what about you?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, and then Dane, what about yourself? You're on mute, Dane.
Man, look, usually I can use being old as an excuse, but I see tonight I'm gonna have to find some other excuse. But I will find one because I'm good at excuses. No, I don't think anybody owes any community of any different ethnicity an apology, because I don't believe that this collective ethnicity consciousness is a thing.
Okay. And then Aki, what about yourself?
No.
No? Okay. And then Wade?
I have no idea what Kanye did or didn't do. I don't pay attention to Kanye.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Okay, so we'll start it off. We got T Reason. Since you're the one who says that he does, go ahead and take a minute or two and explain why he does.
All right. So in light of recent Kanye statements, he's done a lot of things. And I feel as though if he feels those statements he did required an apology, then he should apologize. I think that he made a lot of statements that impacted large communities. And I think that he's probably received backlash from those statements. And because of that backlash he's received, he felt so inclined to apologize. So if he felt the need to apologize, obviously he's already given it the consideration and the well-being to say, this is something I need to apologize for XYZ. And only Kanye can tell us what those reasons are. We can sit here and debate them all we want to, but Kanye has already evaluated himself and comes to the conclusion he needs to make an apology.
Okay, does anybody believe they know what the comments are in question that may or may not need to be apologized for? Anybody feel comfortable being able to share that? Well, the one that I'm aware of, and I don't know if anybody has anything else, let me know, but was he made a comment, I think it was on TMZ for a while, that he said slavery was a choice. A lot of people took offense to him saying slavery was a choice.
Well, there was a lot of stuff too, Vulcan, like back during all the campaign and stuff, he and Candace Owens, they were some event walking around with a t-shirt, and on the back of it said White Lives Matter.
White Lives Matter, yeah.
Just, stirring, just to stir up controversy and get offense, and it worked.
Cool. So yeah, so T Reason's laid out why he believes that he should apologize. And then Aki, we'll go to you. What do you have to say about the Kanye situation?
We don't care about what Kanye has to say because he's been standing on his fake business for a long time, running around here being like Nicki Minaj and everybody else, doing all the nonsense and crazy bullshit he want to say 24/7. Now that the backlash is coming around and this black card finally being 100% being fully snatched away from his ass, now he want to come around and talk about, I'm sorry, black folk. But guess what? He really didn't even apologize to us. If you read the statement, what he made in the New York Post or the Washington Post or whatever it was, he apologized to the Jews. He didn't apologize to us, the Jewish community people.
Yeah, I read his statement. He basically said that he let us down. He said that he let the black community down because of, I guess, his frontal lobe was out. And that's why I say it's a double-edged sword. Did he really apologize? We don't know, because he got a album coming out. But my thing is, why now? Why would you say it now when you could have said it way before? And you could have put out two different statements. You could have put out a statement towards the Jewish community that you offended, and then put out another statement later on. It seemed though that he combined both together so he could get this notoriety before his album come out. That's how I see. And go back to what you asked me first on Vulcan. Do you owe us an apology? No, nobody owes anybody an apology. But we see what you're doing, and we're reacting by what you said earlier. And a lot of my friends are saying to hell with it.
Yeah, so a lot of people that are looking at it like there's no coming back from it. Is that the sentiment that people are generally getting, is that there's no coming back from it? I think that's kind of similar with Aki echoed.
He might as well be Juicy Smoulier, because Juicy Smoulier went down there and sat down with somebody the other day in an interview over, I think it was the Shannon Sharp show or one of them guys, and the video only has like 30,000 views and everybody else has millions of views on the channel. So we don't want Kanye. We don't want him back. Kanye can go sit down and can continue to be MAGA over there with Nicki Minaj and Byron Donaldson and Omarosa and all of those people over there, and go away. Bye.
Okay, and Cola, what about for yourself?
I pretty much have the same standpoint. He does not represent us. He don't need to apologize. We let him go a long time ago.
Gotcha. Dame?
Oh, see there, I remember to unmute. Man, look, since way back in the 90s when I came into my manhood, I was baffled at the way that our culture looks to entertainers. Just because they can sing a tune, play an instrument, and athletes catch a ball, throw a ball, whatever, somehow or another we look to them as if there's some sort of social leaders. And a lot of times these folks can't even keep their own life together. So with that being the case, I don't really think that any of those celebrity types, Kanye or anybody, is really that important to a society's day-to-day life and how we run our lives and our society. I mean, they're entertainers. A few centuries ago, towns wouldn't even let the theater and the entertainers come into town. They had to camp outside of town. And if you want to see their shows, you had to go outside of town because those people were such trashy, lowbrow, low moral people that good folks didn't even want them in the town as neighbors or even guests. They had to camp outside of town and you go out there to their show. And ain't nothing changed for the most part with entertainment people. They're really not very moral people. Most all of them, with a rare exception, are degenerates. So why we look to them and really give a flip what they say, whether it agrees with us or not? That's my place.
Okay,
I'm gonna push back on that. I want to push back on that a little bit because back in the 60s, we had people like Aretha Franklin and all these other entertainers that were actually standing up for Black culture and was using, Martin Luther King was using them. The list goes on and on. Pam Grier, the list goes on and on, that people were in the entertainment industry that did used to do that. But I do agree that today you don't see white entertainers out there, with the exception of people like Dolly Parton and whatnot, actually standing up for what they believe. I mean, but being what we're going through right now with Mr. Petty getting emmed in Minneapolis, a lot of white celebrities are starting to speak up now. So I don't know. I mean, we don't want to call all of them degenerates just because they don't speak up, but we will. I can say this, that a lot of them are looking for their Jackie Robinson moment, where Black people sold out Jackie Robinson sold himself out to the Major League MLB for a check, you know what I mean, and destroyed the Negro League at the same time. That's the moment that they're looking for that they're never going to get.
So real quick,
if I could,
I think Man on the Street.
I'm sorry.
You want to go Man on the Street, or?
Yeah, I just want to push back on what he just said about the celebrities. The celebrities, they might spoken up, but what I've read and what Brother Malcolm said, we are the only community that we run to the athletes, the musicians, to speak on the Black movement. No other race does that. They don't go to Dolly Parton and say, hey, what about the white race? Or they don't go to a Jewish person and say, what about the Jewish race? They only seem to focus on people of color, like in the entertainment building, in the entertainment business, to speak on Black culture. So that's what I'm just going to back. I agree with what you're saying, though. I totally agree. If I could just say one thing to your point of what you're saying, you keep saying they is the problem, is the they. Okay. It's not us that's doing it. It's not us going to, Ice Cube and saying, what do you think? We're not doing that. It's the they that's doing it. The Vlads of the world that's doing that. That's running stuff around here. It's the Liar Cohens, the Leo Cohens, and those type of people like that are the ones that are doing this to our community. We would never put Kanye West in front of us, but it's the they that's doing that.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
You want to cover? Go ahead, Dane.
If I could just clarify, I mean, I get what you're saying. Aki, is that what you go by, man? Yes. Okay, good. I get what you're saying, but I think you maybe misunderstood what I said, because I didn't say there was anything wrong with entertainers or any kind of athletes, celebrities, and those people speaking what they want to speak and standing up for what they believe. What I said is basically what Man on the Street up here has also said, and that is, I don't understand why the people on the streets look to them as some sort of a nobility or some sort of moral guidance. I got two words for you when it comes to, and I didn't say all of them, I said with a rare exception, but most of them, P. Diddy. Ain't no party like a Diddy party. That tells you everything you need to know right there. So that's why I'm saying I don't understand why people look to them, since they're rich and famous, and we think they have wisdom, and we think they have something besides being a clown to make us laugh or whatever, to contribute to us.
So real quickly, I think that was really good, covering people's adoration of celebrities and things of that nature, and what goes on with that. Real quickly, before we move on to the next topic, we probably won't be on this topic more than 5 more minutes, but I just want to ask this question. Does anybody have anything specific that they believe that Kanye did wrong to the black community specifically? Does anybody know of anything or have anything, just for the audience out there, if they're not familiar with it or if they haven't heard a particular spin on it? Aki, T Reason, Cola, Wade, Dane, well, not Wade.
The main thing that Kanye did wrong was introduce Nick Fuentes to the world.
I agree with that one.
All right. Does anybody disagree with Aki on that point? Okay, we don't got. Okay, Dane, you're on mute. Still on mute. The mute button is not going down without a fight. It's like that fly you hitting with that newspaper and it's just not dying.
Yeah. I agree with the
I promise y'all that don't know me. Yeah, I really am smarter than this. I'm smarter than this, but I was a public school graduate. You know, that's all I'm saying. But no, as far as Fuentes goes, I didn't even know who that guy was until people on YouTube started saying that he shouldn't be on YouTube. This was back when he was banned. When people started on YouTube talking about it, I was like, well, who's this dude? So, I mean, it amazes me how so many people that hate Nick Fuentes because of the stuff he says, they give him shelf space in their streams and stuff like that to try to tell people that he don't need to be, you know, saying what he's saying or getting followers or views or whatever. And then they just end up promoting him and more people go check it out. I don't care about it one way or another. I mean, me personally, I think it doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter how much I get offended at what someone says. They still have a right to say it. You know, even if I don't like it, I take that Voltaire stance that I may disagree with what you say, but I'll give my life defending your right to say it. But it just blows my mind how many people say, oh, that dude, he's crazy. He's a supremacist. He's bad he shouldn't be on the air, on platforms or whatever. And in doing that, they telling more people about him and he keeps growing. It just seems a little ironical to me.
Well, I think the problem with this is the part that I think you're missing is that nobody even cared about who Nick Fuentes was until Kanye bought Nick Fuentes to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Donald Trump. And then the reputation of Kanye West blew up Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, I could agree with that, I suppose, because that must have been before I ever heard about him on other platforms. But what I'm saying is that, like with Kanye, this dude's a billionaire and all that kind of stuff. And it's easy to shoot somebody who's up out of the trenches and vulnerable. But I'm talking about us as individuals, me, you, other streamers online. We're doing effectively the same thing that Kanye did at Mar-a-Lago that I wasn't even aware of. We're doing the same thing when we continue talking about him on live and making videos about it. So Kanye took him, I guess, to Mar-a-Lago and said, here's this dude. He's a good dude. Okay. We're taking him to our view. We're saying, here's this dude. He's a bad dude. But both of them are advancing Nick Fuentes' viewership, his message, getting more people listen to him. I don't know why, if he's that bad of a dude, folks don't just shut up about him and just let him fizzle out if he's going to fizzle out. And if he doesn't fizzle out, they don't go towards him and engage with the things he's saying and make moral and logical arguments to defeat whatever it is he's saying.
Well, let me jump in real quick here. Enos, do we have any comments? We can move on. We do have comments?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get these comments going.
Shout out to Leia said showing some love. It said, what's good? My boy had the bear said slavery was a choice. That's what he said. That's all now. Vulcan.
All right, cool. So we can get into the next question. That was a good warm-up question right there in a sense. Let's get to the real deal. We got to get a little deeper. Okay, so the question, everybody, is does the black and or white community have sellouts, and how do you find them if there are sellouts? So we're going to start off with just yes or no for white and black. Don't give an explanation right now. We're going to give that explanation. So we'll start off at the bottom first. Wade, are there sellouts in the black community? Yes or no? And are there sellouts in the white community? Yes or no?
I think no. I don't think there's any person who's representative of the black community or the white community.
Got you. Okay, cool. We're gonna get to the explanation here a little bit. Aki, are there sellouts in the black community and are there sellouts in the white community?
You already know what I'm gonna say.
What you got?
Yes, and double yes.
Okay. Dane, how about yourself?
Look at that. I worked it this time. Of course.
Okay. So both, and then T Reason, what you got?
Most definitely, man. You got sellouts on both sides, man.
Okay, Cola, how about yourself?
Same, both sides.
All right, man on the street.
Hell yeah.
Hey, what's going on? We got Crystal. What's going on, Crystal?
How's it going, Crystal? So real quick, Crystal, I'm gonna read, does the black/white community have sellouts and how do you find them? So my question for you is, does the white community have sellouts? And then does the black community have sellouts? What are your two answers?
Sorry that I got in here late, but yes, the answer is yes.
Yes on both sides?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and kick this one off right here. So we'll start off with Aki. Why do you say there's black sellouts and and white sellouts? And then how would you identify them if you can do that in like a minute or less?
Okay, we all obviously know that they are black sellouts. Okay, they're obvious. When you say sellout, you mean speaking against your community's advancement. Okay, that's what a sellout is. Okay, so we know who they are. Right now, we got Byron Donaldson. We used to have Omarosa. She done circled the block and came back, and now she's trying to do something positive by being a preacher in the black church and community and all of that. We might invite her back to the cookout. The list goes on and on. You know who they are. And the white sellouts right now, the main one that everybody knows is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a white sellout.
Names. Okay.
So,
okay.
But I can't go on and on. I can tell you more people, but those are some.
I think you painted a good picture with those two examples. You painted a good picture.
Yeah. So I got my little stopwatch here. I'm stopping. You still had like 15 seconds left. You got anything else you want to cover on there?
No.
Okay, Wade, for yourself, if you could just remind what you said and then give an explanation why the minute or less.
Yeah, I said no because I don't think there are people that actually represent the whole black community or the whole white community. So you can't sell out a community that you're not a representative of. And I don't think that one person can encompass a whole community. So to say that a person is a sellout for their community, it just doesn't ring true to me.
How old are you?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Rules.
Anything else you got, Wade?
No, I'm good.
You still got 20 more seconds. You good?
I'm good.
All right, it's Crystal. How about for yourself?
Yes. Definitely, both sides. I don't know. It seems like people don't portray their true selves, and it's very easy to sell out. And some people might even be paid to be a sellout. They might even be placed in front of different communities to be a sellout. We don't know if this makes sense.
Okay, Colo, what you got? The white community, the black community sellouts. What's your thoughts and then why?
We definitely have them both on both sides, and it's going against your community and not going. When you get to a certain point, you have some sort of duty of representation, especially when it comes to us. Like, we are not in every room, and when we get in the room and where there's little representation, like, all eyes are watching. So, to go to the UN and say stuff, that's ridiculous. Look, they started they tried to deport that woman, okay?
All right, got one more. Let me get comments there. Help the Bear said, Cola J, following you back to spend some time with me. I'm selling out right now. Shout out to Help the Bear. Cola got a fan in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, T Reason, what you got?
Yeah, most definitely, man. I mean, you got clear sellouts. You got clear agendas being pushed, and you got people with large platforms that when you have a platform that big and you have a certain demographic that follows your message, and your message is clearly against the people that your message is supposed to be speaking to, you clearly a sellout. You know, for a long time, Candace Owens was a sellout. And when you start to look at who's behind them, you start to look at their interest and their funding, because one of the questions was, how can you spot or how can you find out if they're a sellout? Well, you have to look at their interests. You have to see like where their money's coming from. You got to see who their boss is or where they're accepting payments and what their motive is going to be. And why would they push that agenda knowing that may be a false narrative or it may be misleading, and why they have an interest in pushing that message out? You got to pay attention to a lot of those things. Kanye as well. They both was to a degree sellout. And now Kanye is trying to pull back, to piggyback on the previous question. Now he's trying to pull back, a lot of the things he realized he went off track with. So
perfect. All right, Dane, you're up.
All right, man. Well, I guess after hearing the first 5 people respond, I need to change maybe need to change my answer, because when I think of a sellout, I think of someone who is taking a stand contrary to their group, whatever the group may be defined as. They're taking a stand that's different than that group, that's not congruent with their actual principles. Yeah, that's what I think about. If we're just talking about someone who might be, for instance, I've said before, I'm so conservative, I make Donald Trump look like he's a progressive. But during his first 2 terms, and so many of my friends and associates and peers and cohorts were posting stuff on social media of Donald Trump walking hand in hand with Jesus. Donald Trump with Jesus reaching over his shoulder, helping him sign stuff, and the dude, I still don't think he's a Christian. And so I would take a issue with that, and I would confront my conservative. Okay, most folk don't even know what these terms mean, but I would confront my conservative friends about it. Now they might would have said, "Well, Dane's a sellout." Okay, but no, I was standing on my principles. So if the definition I'm hearing is what a sellout is, and I say nobody has a sellout because nobody is entitled to or obligated to support anyone, any group, anything.
Okay, got you. Appreciate that, Dane. All right, man on the street, what you got?
Yeah, you got sellouts, but see, I just like what the previous young man just said. See, now I could mess around with you, because if I met you and you say what you just said, we could have a conversation. Now, a sellout would change, because you just said exactly what I said. You say that Donald Trump is not a Christian, and I truly believe that. So your stance didn't change. See, people like conservatives that I know that I call friends, their stance changed, because they always talking about a kumbaya moment. But then when Donald Trump came in office and all this bad ish that he's putting out and all this bad ish that the Trump administration is putting out, they're silent. See what I'm saying? So that's a sellout. Now, to the black, I can't speak for the white race. I can speak for the black race. We got so many sellouts, man, you can't count them on one hand. And those are the ones that are basically a detriment to people that look like me and look like y'all, because they say one thing to our face, and then when they're in those other rooms, they say something totally different. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, so we had Wade. We'll go to you, Wade. You've heard everybody share their perspective, and yours is probably the most opposite, the most diametrically opposed, because you're saying there can't be sellouts because you can't speak on behalf of your entire ethnicity, your race, however you want to word it.
I don't think one person should be held to speak for an entire race of people. Like that's, one of the guys mentioned Candace Owens being a sellout. How was she a sellout? Just because she's black, she has to believe everything that every other black person believes. And so if she speaks her truth, she's now all of a sudden a sellout just because she's saying something that's contrary to what more people with her skin tone have to say. That's bullshit.
Can I
language?
So yeah, let's go.
I like to respond to that because I'm the one who made the statement. So I'd like to.
So that's what we'll do. We'll go T Reason first, and then we're gonna give everybody a chance. So yeah, T Reason, go ahead and just 30 seconds or less if you can respond to that.
So the reason why I say she's a sellout is because she retracted her stance on a lot of her points, and she's starting to realize a lot of the things that she was saying were misleading, and she was a sellout. She started to come around and retract a lot of her original stance. So if she hadn't felt like if she was, she would be staying true to her original statements and original beliefs,
So
and it wouldn't have changed it and deterred as much as it has.
Can grow.
No, there's a difference between growth and actual, like, come on now, like there's a big difference between it's almost like a stretch to say that you're gonna default to just saying it's growth, because it's not like she wasn't aware. There's been several times where
let me interject real quick, because I want the man on the street to say his part too, and then Wade can address both. Both.
Yeah, I guess I hear what my man is saying, and I understand that what you're saying about Candace Owens. But my point is, Candace Owens, when she was in high school, I think it was high school, she sued because she said that it was racism. She sued that she said that they she was being sought out because of the color of her skin. Now she's saying something totally different, saying that it's not the color of your skin, it's you. That's changing up. That's what I mean, that she's a sellout. That's why I say she's a sellout, because it was good when you needed the justice system to help you get some money. But now, or when somebody else, or people of color, gets out there and wants to sue the no, don't do that. No, make sure it's about your merit. That's why I call her a sellout.
So do you believe everything you believed in high school?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you believe everything that you believed in high school?
No, I'm saying what she said. I'm not saying what I said.
No, but you're holding her to a different standard than you would hold any other person to. So if I have a view in high school, if I have a public view in high school that I go to court over, then I can't change my mind on that topic for the rest of my life, or I'm a sellout.
She had the same problem recently with her current employment. So
be so respectful.
So she had the same problem recently. It wasn't like she just had it then. She had the same problem come back around full circle, and now she's saying the same thing again.
What? I'm sorry, I'm not up to date on the.
She had a fallout with where she was previously
Daily Wire.
The Daily Wire. She had a fallout with them, and it was everything we told her was going to happen. She started dealing with those exact same things, and now she's realizing what she should have realized that she's been warned about several times. How many times do you have to be warned about something before you wise up and say, you know what, maybe I'm not qualified to speak on these things because I'm not paying attention to the information I'm receiving?
Well, what I want to do real quick is I want to go to Aki and then Dane, and then we're going to open it up to everybody else as well. So, Aki, what do you got to say on that topic? I know you were chomping at the bit.
I want to start by apologizing to Wade for what I said earlier. I want to start there. Okay. The reason why I'm going to touch on something else, the reason what makes Candace Owens a sellout is that she circled back around after she got fired from Turning Point USA and started supporting black people again. And then as soon as she got a check, she was out there attacking LGBT and black people again, and the Macrones and all of them people like that. That's what makes her a sellout. And to your other point you were making, Wade, about we can't rely on one person to represent the community. We're not the ones that's doing that. Some of them are out there fishing to be seen, and others are being elevated to those positions. Celebrities want to be recognized, okay? People, when I say celebrity, I don't mean just Beyonce and them. I'm talking about the Candace Owenses, the Byron Donaldses. Those people raise their hand to be recognized by the opposition as opposition to their own community and are blessed with money. They don't start off automatically getting money. They start off just speaking crazy rhetoric, hoping to be recognized by someone who's going to give them a check.
I appreciate you, Aki. Let's get Dane in there. What do you think about that topic?
I think all kinds of stuff, man. I think all kinds of stuff. I would be really excited to hear someone give me a morally objective argument as to why anyone owes anything to their racial, religious, some other ethnic demographic. See, I would want to know that. Now, as far as Candace Owens is concerned, I mean, I've never heard her present herself as any kind of a leader of any demographic at all. But, you know, I just don't understand why these people, just because they might happen to be black, or some of them might be, a Jewish person who is maybe speaking against the modern state of Israel, they might be called a sellout or something. I don't understand how someone, because they might be in a group that most of the time they had no choice to be in or not, somehow or another is considered to be obligated to toe the party line, whatever that group might be. Again, when Trump's first two administrations and everything, when it came time, he was doing stuff and saying stuff. I was against him when he ran the first time because he's not conservative. He's a populist and he's a nationalist. And I spoke up to the people that I'm supposed to be on the same side as. I spoke up to them. Why? I didn't know them nothing. I mean, my whole life.
Sorry, go ahead. That was good, but
that's cool. That's cool, man. That's cool.
I want to ask Dan.
Hold on real quick, Aki. Sorry about that. We got to get Crystal in, and I want Cola to speak to the issue too. So, Crystal, go ahead. What do you got to say on the topic, if you have anything?
Yes, what I was gonna say is what somebody I don't remember who it was. It might have been T Reason said. Really, that you gotta start following the money. That's really where you should start to see about how they became a sellout or why they're a sellout. Is start looking at their funding and trace it back to that, because that is where you'll always find your answer as to why they are that way. Like I said earlier, that you never know, they might be paid to be a sellout.
But remember, you have to be for sale in order to be bought. So these people already have their hand in the air. They're already for sale.
Yeah.
Well, that's
all right. Hold on for a minute, Vulcan. Hold on, Vulcan. I want to bring in on John Martin.
John Martin, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Yes. So
Mr. Martin.
Well.
Howdy.
Yeah, so real quickly, I want to bring you into this. You can put the question back on the screen, Enos.
Yes, sir.
So I don't even throwing you out to the water real quick, but does the black and or white community have sellouts, and how do you find them? If you can just answer if you think black communities have sellouts, if white community has sellouts, and also how can you identify them in a minute and a half?
Okay, so let me do this since I'm just on. Let me kind of engage in the conversation. How are you guys defining sellout?
Okay, if you want to just we'll get so actually that's one thing I wanted to ask as well. But I first want to bring Cola in, and then after that we'll get to that question. That's a really good question about how we're defining it. So Cola, you got something you want to say?
Well, to piggyback off of what Dane was saying earlier, when he was asking about, like how do they represent their group? In particular, Candace Owens, we wouldn't even know Candace Owens had she not seeked out help with the NAACP, which is a representation of the Black community. So in particular situations like that, how do you get help and come to us in time of need, and we support you and we represent you, and then every single time, as soon as you get a chance and you get a check, you back to the other side?
But if I could respond to that, Candace Owens hit her issue with the race issue, the hate crime that she had that Al Sharpton was involved in. That was when she was in high school. And people that are involved in that sort of a political, stuff, they may have known who she was, but Candace Owens didn't become famous because of that issue with the governor's son that she went to school with, who texted her a bunch of like race hate stuff. That's a true situation that you told, but that wasn't what made her famous. What started getting her attention is when she showed up on YouTube with a little streaming channel as she was taking positions and stuff that was on the right of the political spectrum. And because she was a black girl, a black woman, she was very young, but so I say girl because I'm old, but because she was a black person taking conservative positions, it was very unusual, especially at that time. And that's why she started building an audience. And then she went on to Prager and TPUSA and a Daily Wire and that sort of stuff. And she blew up.
Yeah,
I appreciate you sharing that.
I disagree with that.
Okay, Cola, say why you disagree.
She was placed in that position.
That's possible. That is possible. I don't argue with that. I look at a lot of these people. I ask people all the time, especially black friends of mine and such, when subjects like this come up, I ask them, who is it when someone says such and so is a black leader? Who made that decision? I've never heard of black people getting ballots in the mail to vote on who their leader's going to be. And they never say that about white people, Jewish people, Native Americans. They never say this guy's a Native American leader. They don't say that. They don't say Benjamin Netanyahu or any of those people are Jewish people's leaders, but they'll say with the black community, Jesse Jackson.
Sorry, Daniel. That's a really good point. Aki, you had something you wanted to say?
Yes. White people don't have to tell us who their leaders are because We see who they are. They don't have to be announced. The white is always silent. Okay. And I want to bring up another point here. I don't know, Dave, your name is Dave, right?
Dane, like Great Dane, like the dog
Dane,
breed.
Dane, how do you identify racially? It's just a question. I'm not being ambiguous or anything.
I'm Scotch Irish.
Okay.
They
Well,
mentioned that earlier.
I think that you probably need to read this book, The Miseducation of the
Education of the
Negro,
Negro.
because Carter G. Woodson breaks down all of your misguided information you've been given tonight about Black people.
So in other words, instead of engaging with my argument and dispelling it with logic, you just gonna basically imply that I'm just uneducated and too stupid to know the truth. Come on, man.
He's giving you a route to take.
I didn't say that.
He's giving you a route to take.
Why do I
He's
need a
giving you-
route to take? Why do I need a route to take if I'm not lost? That's still an implication that I'm just lost. Bless his little fat bud. He just don't know no better. Here's a book to read. Why not engage with my argument? Read this book. It's not an argument.
So does anybody think that they could refute?
Well,
his-
you know, when somebody say read a book, it means that they don't have the time to break down every single chapter in that book to you over
Well, then
a
why not
4-minute
just-
segment.
Well, then why not
It would
engage
take a
with the
long time for
argument?
you to
Engage
for
with
you
the
to-
argument. Read a book does not engage with an argument. It's an implication that I'm uneducated. If I'm uneducated, it should be easy for him to mount a moral, objective argument.
That's an
to
opinion. That's
defeat
not
my
a fact.
claim.
That's an opinion you
That's
have. That doesn't-
logic.
Hold on, real
That's
quick.
logic, brother.
Hold on, Dane, real quick, because I don't want to get into the metacognition. And just for the audience out there, there's the conversation that we're having. Then there's a conversation about the conversation, which may be necessary at times. Don't get me wrong, but I think we got both sides of it. Dane's made his point. T Reason made his point as far as that goes. Aki, do you want to engage with what he said specifically, or you feel like within the time constraints that's not going to be good enough for you?
No, it's too broad. The book is required reading for African Americans in Black cities in high school and definitely in college.
But as
people
far as
have
right
been-
now, you wouldn't want to engage with what he was talking about.
No, it's too deep. I just actually read the book for the third time, and Carter G. Woodson is somebody you need to know about.
Real quickly, I appreciate you plugging the book right there. That's a very common book. Man on the Street. We go ahead, Man on the Street.
Yeah, I want to say something. What Crystal said and what Cola J, they basically say the same thing. Follow the money, and when you follow the money, you see how people go. Because if you was, and I'm just saying a broad statement, I'm not saying it for anybody. If I was to talk about Black people in a negative way, my channel would blow up. If white people or anybody else talk about their people in a negative way, their channel will blow up. So you follow the money, and that's how people, especially the ones I call a sellout, get popularized because they're talking about their own people. And that's why I agree with what Krista J say and what Cola J say, because they basically saying the same thing. Just follow the money.
Okay, real quickly, Wade, you know, this kind of circled around what you were saying initially. You got anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm good for now. I'm good for now.
So I want to say this really quick because I know it's easy to label people that are famous as sellouts. One, you don't have to interact with them. Number two, a lot of their stuff is easy to see. But as far as like, I guess what I want to know is the low level people, like the people that work every day, blue collar, white collar jobs that aren't getting paid outside of what they do for a living. How do you determine if they are a sellout or not? And I want to go around with that. I'll skip Wade on this one because he doesn't believe people can speak on behalf of their entire ethnicity or race. So I'll start with Aki, and then we'll go around the line. And it's just 30 seconds or less. How can you identify the sellouts in the white and the Black community, just in everyday people that only get paid one way?
The first thing they say is your vote doesn't matter. That's the first thing they say. Why you even vote? It doesn't matter. The president is picked for you anyway. That's the first sign. The second sign is false belief in something. Like they'll say, I love Dr. Martin Luther King, but then I don't vote. They'll stand there and say stuff like, that girl who got killed by ICE is like, she should have complied. That's what they say. She should have complied.
Got you. Okay, that was 30 seconds right there. So, Crystal, how about for yourself? You know, in 30 seconds or less, like, how do you identify the everyday sellout in the white or Black community?
without monetary ties, because that's the only thing. Either that or they are afraid to really stand up for the valid points that they have and they believe in, and they're afraid to use their voice. So then they sway the other way to go with the majority of the people's thought process instead of critical thinking.
Just to understand a little better, for the everyday person that's working in a factory or going to their job and driving home to their family, in what way would they be standing up to where it'd be noticeable to everybody else?
Well, my mind just got a vision of Norma Ray. I don't know if anyone's old enough to even remember that movie, where she worked in a factory or whatever. And I forget what she was fighting for because it was a long time ago. But just I don't know. I'm just going to work.
Yeah, if you don't know, it's fine. I just was
No,
saying
I mean, like the person. I'm just going to work. I'm just doing my job. I'm not even talking to anybody. I'm not going to let anybody know, what I'm doing basically. And so, I'm just keeping to myself. And so, you know what I mean? Like maybe some of those people have that kind of thought process. So
Okay.
where they wouldn't be placed in a situation to stand up for something, but it could be your lunchtime is only 30 minutes and you got to clock in and out and you don't have time to eat or whatever, like something like that. And you're going to stand up to your management or whatever,
I
but
got you. I'm hearing you. Okay, so man on the street, how about for yourself?
Well, for me, just like my man Dane said, he said that he's a true conservative. So I understand his viewpoint. If you're a true conservative, you stay that way. You don't sway towards the way that Donald Trump is. And that's why I say with friends of mine, if you see it an injustice and you know that it is an injustice and you don't speak out about it and you go along with the norm, you're a sellout. So that's why I agree. If you're a conservative, that's why I say we can have a conversation. We could agree to disagree, but at least we had the conversation. So that's the way I look at the people that I work with, because I work with a bunch of them that I know was conservative, but now they're way over there. No, they're not conservative anymore. They're MAGA. And I have an issue with that. And I'm talking about both black and white. So for me, if you sway, no, I can't mess with you. Just
Hey,
can't do
Dane,
it.
how about yourself?
Well, I think that if Man in the Street and I actually had a conversation with the two of us, he'd probably find that we get along and agree on a lot more than we disagree, even though we may disagree on enough to put us on two different sides of the spectrum. So that's how I feel about it. So, and to speak what he said about people that swish and sway, I complain about this all the time. I'm an old guy, so I'm over on Facebook with most of my complaining until I started streaming a few months ago. But what you're talking about, Man on the Street, are people who are unprincipled. They don't have principles. They have feelings and preferences, but they have not considered their positions and sought out a logical, philosophical foundation for it. They just go in because that's what good people do. Everybody knows such and such, and they end up with that. So when the winds change, they change.
And so T reason for yourself in 30 seconds or less, like, the everyday working person, just for the audience out there that's not getting paid, that we see on social media or on TV. How do you detect that they're a sellout? And I apologize. I should have made the question more specific. We're talking about a racial sellout specifically. This white person or this black person is selling out their community. And I may have to go back to people to get them to answer it again in light of that element to it, because some of it seemed like it was more vague, just somebody selling out on their own principles. But so, which is I would say slightly different from what we're talking about. So T reason in 30 seconds or so, like, how do you identify that everyday person has to sell out to their race?
They have conflicting viewpoints with a mission of the truth. So they have a viewpoint on something, but then there's plenty of evidence that state what the truth is, and they still have their conflicting mindset, and the facts are laid out for them, and there's a lot of information on it, and they still have that conflicting viewpoint against their own personal interests or against their own community to a degree.
Okay. John Martin, how about yourself? You're on mute. Oh,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have a couple of things. So first, you have this idea of selling out, and I think that there's a overarching principle when you talk about affiliation with any identity group, and that is, I may not do anything to help you, but I certainly won't do anything to hurt you. And I think what happens with a sellout is a sellout does things that undermines the efforts of the collective, right? And and so that's a very clear. There's actions and behaviors that accompany an attitude, and usually it's in contradiction to whatever their affinity group is. Then you have people who buy into an alternative point of view from their affinity group. So there are people who might say, you know what, I think it's in my best interest to align my thoughts and actions with this principle. So, for example, if you're a Christian person, but you align your thoughts and actions with the Muslim faith, right? That's a contradiction, but you buy into another practice because it benefits you. And usually it's the individualization of the benefit that ascribes itself to being a sellout or buying in. And the sellout is the person who it's a detriment to his community group. So in the case of a self-selection around faith, it doesn't hurt anyone else that you choose another faith. But if you are a person you're casting a vote against affirmative action, for example, then you are impacting other people through your behavior, and that's the action of selling out. And so I think that it can happen in any number of ways. I just think that depending on the affinity group determines the level of it and the degree to which it impacts that group as a whole. Because if you don't have the power base, right, then your behavior doesn't really have a detrimental effect in and of itself. But if you're part of a power base, or if you have the ability to shift the narrative in some ways, then I think the label of sellout is more applicable.
Okay. And I want to bring Wade in because you had a different view, I think, in general than most people, just because I think your point is that there can't be representative in that sense. So Wade, you got anything you want to say to what's been said so far from everybody? You're on mute. You're saying something, you're on mute, Wade.
I got you, Wade.
I still haven't heard a reasonable argument on how someone can be a representative of their entire race. I can't think of a single white person who I would say is a representative of white people. Like, just that I can barely say the statement without laughing. Like, it's who's a representative of all white people? That's so retarded. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that someone could, if you can't be a representative of that entire group, then you can't sell them out, obviously. Like, you have to be a representative of a group to be able to sell them out. So on the white people side, for sure, it's an impossibility because there's no one person that anybody could point to. Vanilla Ice, maybe. That's the closest thing I got. As a representative of all white people. And
can I
people
just
love Ryan Reynolds.
Can I just say something? I'm not trying to be facetious, but I thought you were talking about the individual. The individual is the person that's selling out. I don't think you're talking about the individual towards the whole white race or the whole black race. I'm talking about individuals. And it goes back to what somebody said earlier. It's the detriment to your people. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about, I'm speaking for the whole black race. But that one person.
That's exactly who gets called a sellout. It's usually so that's the problem. Is that every time,
the individual. That's what I'm saying, the individual.
When we think of sellouts, thinking of sellouts, the names that come to mind are all, or the vast majority, are going to be black names. And why is that?
So if you don't mind. So you have someone like Clarence Thomas, right? He's the Supreme Court justice who his life's journey is very storied and very much riddled with hardship and in many cases a lot of insurmountable challenges. And he was a benefactor of affirmative action type opportunities. And that guy is closing those doors for people who are to come behind him. That is how an individual can impact an entire group and sell out other people from having the same
Again,
opportunities that he
that's
had.
that's once again, that's the whole that right there explains or goes to show that it's always black people that get hung with this appellation of being a sellout, and
Well,
almost every single time it's if they have a conservative viewpoint, because the blacks are the only group that are based on a skin color that then have an overwhelming political ideology. Something
well,
like 90 plus percent of blacks are Democrat, and so every time a black
That's
person
a crazy
says
mindset to
something-
have.
hold on. Every time a black person is conservative, all of a sudden that those conservative values that they hold are then held against them, and they're called a sellout because they have conservative views, just views that differ.
Well, hold on.
from
Wait,
the
let me
rest
step in real
of
quick, Wade.
mainstream black culture.
Yeah, wait, let me step in real quick. I want to Wade get a little more time because his viewpoint is different than everybody else's. So I wanted him to get a chance to really get that out so people can address it. So anybody that wants to cross-examine Wade or to explain a different kind of way, or anybody
well,
wants
I have a question. I have a question for Wade.
go ahead.
Do you think that Rhino is a sellout?
No,
The term Republican in name only. That's
right.
That to me is the same, falling under the same category as what a sellout is. So they label these people rhinos, and then all of a sudden, because they have a different
The original
viewpoint.
question was, is there such a thing as a white or a black sellout? Right?
There's both. No, there's both.
Can you put the original question back?
There's both.
Well,
The black-white community have sellouts.
Well,
Republican is not black or white.
Well,
See, the only reason that you think of Republican as white is because you know that black.
It's not that I think. It's not based on. It's not based on what I think. It's based on the color of that person who's being labeled a rhino. It's not based on what I think. It's based on the factual evidence. So if a person is labeled a rhino, if that person that's labeled a rhino is a white person, then that's where that's coming from.
But that's not a white that's not a white community thing. Republican is not a white thing. So start there.
Can I get in on this?
Hold on real quick. Real quickly, I want to go to John Martin, and I want to go to
Republican does not mean white.
All right, Wade, hold on. For the panel,
Wade.
I do want to say something for the panel. Make sure y'all eliminate y'all background noise, and for the audience, please subscribe and like the video, please. John, I think I heard some.
You have any comments?
Noise.
So we keep going?
Yes, we do.
I saw you putting some on the screen, but I'm not.
Yes, sir, we do.
Know.
Yeah, well, one of the things I would say to you.
Hold on, we're gonna put the comments up, and then we're gonna go to you. Go ahead. All
right, Help the Bear said, "Thank you, Wade." Somebody's agreeing with Wade, and then King Ryan said, "No, not true. Hispanics and Asians are a small minority group that are known to sell out their own." Excuse me. That's all for now. We can get to one more. Help the Bear said, "T. Reason I can assure you that every day go against all facts that could be in your best interest. Argument trash." All right, let's go back
real quickly. So John Martin, go ahead and go, and then after that, we're going to follow up with Dane.
I think one of the premises is that you have to understand the overarching objective, right, in this melting pot called America is assimilation. And I think that when you talk about Black people being labeled as sellout, it's oftentimes akin to the difficulty that we, just from a color standpoint, have difficulty assimilating. And so you can assimilate in thought and mind and not be able to physically assimilate. And so when you have those kind of obstacles in a community group, well, you have differences in the approach to which you achieve whatever status you have as citizens. And I think that's where the difficulty comes in, and that's where selling out is so important. Because if people who are able to, in some ways, assimilate, even despite skin tone, oftentimes leave behind people who are not able to do that same thing. And so because the goal of all of the other groups are to assimilate, and they have a much easier time assimilating, it's usually a stigma that sticks in the Black community a little differently. Because in order to assimilate fully, you have to ignore some historical things. You have to ignore Jim Crow. You have to ignore the legacies and the impact of slavery on the community and the continued reverberance of those impacts in the community and how uh, they limit some opportunities, and how historically there have been things put in place through law that limit Black people. And so when you start thinking about the desire to assimilate and the ability of some to do it more readily than others, it creates that disparity in the community. And those people who are able to do it more so, either through their connections, or in our case, we get the accoutrements of success, where you don different ideologies and so forth. Those people tend to close doors that were opened by other people before them, and that's where the stigma and marker of sellout comes from in the Black community. It's
Okay,
just
that's
forgetting the fact that had the story of Black people has been very, very unique and different as it relates to the American narrative.
okay. Now, Dane, you got a minute and a half. What you got, Dane?
Oh
What are
man.
you next, Crystal?
As far as the issue, if I could touch on that about the Rhino Republican thing, the difference that Wade is not articulating very well is being a Republican has a set of characteristics that's easy to define and recognize. A set of agreed upon positions that says if you belong to this party, well, this is what you agreed to do. These are your philosophies and your principles and your beliefs. Okay, being white, being Black, to my knowledge, does not have any such thing. Like my daughter-in-law, sweet saint of God, her father was Jamaican, her mother was white. She was adopted out of the foster care system and raised by people that are so white they bleed sour cream. In her mind, she thinks of herself as a white chick. If I look at it and you look at it, we say she's mixed or Black. So there's no definition to what is or is not Black, white, Asian. When people say Asian, they're thinking about the yellow races like the Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. Indians are Asian. Many Russians are Asian. You see what I'm saying? So when we get into these terms, we really need to deal with the semantics of what qualifies a selling out against, in this case, Black or white. We don't really have a definition unless we want to practice colorism. And if we want to try to advance this idea that if you are Black, for instance, in this case, then you are required or expected to have a certain thought process. There are many, many people like George Wallace, Robert Byrd, and other very virulent racist segregationists that would completely agree with you that Black people think like X, white people think like Y. If that's who, I personally don't believe on that.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Crystal, I'm gonna go Cola, then Aki, then I'm gonna go the man on the street. So Crystal, go ahead. Got anything, Crystal?
I don't know. All of this, my mind just keeps thinking. Did you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
I don't know. All of this, my mind just
Okay,
keeps
yeah,
thinking.
some kind of noise in the background.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All I keep thinking is listening to the panel is yes, hold on, I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll go ahead and, yeah, okay, you ready? Okay.
All I keep thinking is that at the end of the day, when you cut us open, like we all bleed red blood, and the continued divide of like trying to put us, like into different boxes and groups, or whatever, just keeps the arguments going back and forth, which further divides us, which, that's all I kept thinking. I don't have any other answer, but that's all I kept
Okay, that's
thinking
fine. That's
when I was
perfect.
listening to the people talk.
Okay. So Cola, you got a minute and a half. What you got?
I don't have anything to add at this moment.
Okay, Aki, it's on you.
I find it very strange and interesting how somebody like Dane and Wade have somebody like John down here explain something so intellectually, and they completely go act like he said nothing. When you have a person like me who's not as intellectual, which Dane asked for such an eloquent explanation about something he doesn't understand. Now, first of all, John Brown is the most famous white sellout ever. Okay. Nancy Pelosi is a white sellout. So is Bill Clinton, is also considered a white sellout. Okay. This is what these people say, not me. Furthermore, when you talk about race, you want to talk about who's Asian and who's black and who's white and this and that. We have to remember that race is a made-up construct, okay? My last name is Leach. I'm part Scottish Irish myself. My great-grandfather was Scotland Scurlock. But right now, I have to identify as a black man because that's what the white man told me that I was.
Not true.
So who made up white and black and Asian and all of that? Who made that up?
Well, go ahead and finish
Racist,
that.
Racist scientists and biologists made that up to separate people, and you're letting them tell you how to identify. People will call me white. I identify as Scotch Irish, but why? Right. Because I'm a man who makes my own decisions. You're letting them make you identify as what they think you are.
This is America. You can identify as a nationality all you want. But guess what? In this country, African Americans, we don't have a country to identify with other than the United States of America. So hold
completely
on.
You've
been speaking a lot.
But hold on, T-Reason. Hold on. Let them finish this out.
Hold on. You've been speaking a whole lot. But in this country, in America, unfortunately, because of the white made-up construct of whiteness, when a black person comes to this country, I don't care where they come from. They can come from Cuba. They can, which a black Cuban can come here and say, "I'm Cuban, I'm not black." A Dominican comes here and say, "I'm Dominican, I'm not black. I speak Spanish." No, when the police pull you over, they see an N-word. I don't care what you say. So
I know you don't care what I say because what I'm saying is true.
If you want a discount, give me one more second, please. Everybody's been talking and my mic been getting muted. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
It's my last part. Give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. If you want to identify yourself the way you should be identifying yourself, you should be identifying yourself as non-melanated, because that's what's wrong with you. You don't have no melanin in your skin. Okay, we have melanin. If you don't want to use race, you can say y'all are non-melanated people and we're melanated people. I have a little bit more melanin than you. You lack melanin. If you want to take race completely out of it, but as long as we in the United States of America, and I'm sorry I'm not as eloquent as John because he's excellent, but when he speaks, y'all ignore him for some reason.
Well, I want to give you got 5 more seconds, Aki. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's just eliminate race if that's what you want to do, and then see how everybody gets treated then. Because guess what? As an Irish person, you wasn't even white in the 1920s. You was a you know what.
So
I want to get to the comments.
I want to give Dane. Sorry, go. Enos, what are you saying?
Yeah, I want to read some comments before we get back to the dialogue. I was born my ethnicity and didn't choose that association. Because of that, I can't be assigned a certain set of beliefs or expected behaviors just because of the color of my skin and ethnicity. Let's get back to the dialogue.
Okay, so real quickly, I want to give Dane a minute to respond to Aki, and then after that, we're going to the man on the street.
Aki spurred and gish galloped so much, I'm not sure which point he wants me to respond to. Pick one. But I did not say I was Irish. I said I was Scotch Irish, although Irish is probably, would be great too. But most of what he just tried to tell me about, you weren't considered white, you were considered Irish, had nothing to do with the point I made. And I don't even try to refute that. But that's completely irrelevant to the point. The rest of what Aki said was nothing more than his incredulity, his offense, emotional spurging, that sort of stuff. It's not an argument. And what I wish that he would do is actually engage with what I've said instead of all of that, just that soliloquy, all of that just going on and on in his feelings, and actually present me with a logical argument that I could respond to.
Hold on, Aki. Hold on,
my delivery. You just don't want to accept it because I'm not John Martin.
Hold on, you got 20 seconds, Dane.
Okay, well, if you're not John Martin, maybe you can go to private chat over here and type in what you need John Martin to say for you. But what I'm looking for is a logical argument I can respond to, and not simply, I know you are, but what am I? Like we're children. I would love to engage with you. I can tell listening to you, you're not dumb, but what you're saying is just emotionalism and shame, guilt, peer pressure, scorn, incredulity. That's not an argument. I am here to deal with arguments, not with feelings. So that's where I'm at,
Now
brother.
we got that real
You're
quick.
just
I
choosing
want to
to
have
be
the man on the
deaf, and
street
that's
go.
all.
You got a minute and a half, man on the street. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to go back to something that Wade said earlier. He said that 90% of blacks, African Americans, are Democrats. I can say the same thing about the Republican Party. So I'm not going to generalize it that way. What I was going to say. Why
Hold
not?
on, wait. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you can't
y'all,
say that.
Real quickly.
You
Sorry.
can't say-
Wait.
Take your notes, y'all. Take y'all notes.
You
So
cannot say 90%
Hold on,
of whites are
wait.
Hold
Republicans.
on, wait. The man on the street, go ahead and finish.
I'm just saying what you said.
Hold on,
You said-
man on the streets. I just want to let the panelists let people get the chance to say their piece. We'll get everybody a chance to speak. All right, go ahead, man on the
I'm
streets.
just reiterating what you said. You said that 90% of African Americans are Democrats. That's what you said. Now, when I say that 90%, I could say the same thing, that 90% of Republicans are Caucasian. You're going to say that's not it. See, we're not going off of facts. See, now I'm gonna use what my man Dane just said. You going off of feelings. See, I'm just using what I'm just reiterating what you just said. So when I'm talking about a sellout with the Republican Party, did this Trump administration sell out the people that voted for him? And I'm talking about the farmers, because that's a sellout. Because the farmers are what getting hosed, and those are the people that voted him back into office. Don't get mad at me. I'm just speaking the same thing that you just said. So I'm done. You can have the rest of your time.
Okay.
You got a minute.
No. Because first of all, 90% of Republicans are not white by any stretch of the imagination, number one. But that in and of itself, you flipped it. I said 90% of blacks are Democrat. So for you to use the same logic, it would be 90% of whites are something, and 90% of whites aren't anything. There's nothing it's almost split down the middle between Democrat and Republican for white people. It's almost down the middle. So you can't say that, and every other race tracks the same on the political chart. So about 50% of Latinos are Democrat and about 50% are Republican. About 50% of Asians are Democrat and about 50% of Asians are Republican. Every race that is true except black people. Black people is the only race that it is widely skewed one direction or the other. And that is 90% of blacks are Democrats.
That's not a factual statement. It's not 90%. It's not 90%.
Hold on, I want to give the man.
It's not 90%. So stop using that statistic because it's not true.
Hey, everybody, hold on.
We can argue on the exact number, but it's greater than 85%.
No, it's not. It's not greater than 85%.
You said that already.
I know, but he keeps on throwing out more numbers, and I got to
look it out right now. According to, let's see.
Well, hold on, wait, real quick. Man on the street, do you want to respond to that?
All I'm saying is I'm using your logic. I'm just throwing out numbers like you're throwing out numbers. We don't know the actual numbers. So I'm just saying the same thing that you say. I just put it in the reverse. And like I say, I'm taking emotion out of it. Yeah, there may be more Africans Americans that are Democrats, but you cannot tell me there's not more Caucasian that are Republicans. You can't say it's 50-50. I'm just using your logic. So if you're going to get mad at somebody, get mad at yourself because you threw the numbers out. I didn't.
It's close to 50-50 for every race except black.
Can I say something? I just look at the Asian.
Hold on, let Wade finish what he's saying. Let Wade finish what he's saying.
The whole point of that wasn't who has more of what. That doesn't matter. The point is that's why you can say that there are sellouts in the black community, is because there's such a pervasive one-sided demographic for a certain political party that if a black person speaks contrary to that political party, they are instantly labeled a sellout.
No, that's incorrect.
Yes, that's fact.
No, that's incorrect.
Why you called Candace Owen. That's why you called Clarence Thomas, John, to speak to John's argument about Clarence Thomas. you're saying that he's closing doors behind him. Well, those doors are supposed to be closed according to conservative principles, and he's a conservative. So that's why he was closing those doors, is because according to his political ideology, they shouldn't have been open in the first place.
So real quickly, I was going to bring John Martin in anyway. So I wanted to give like at least 3 minutes to let y'all be able to kind of work through that example specifically because it was one that you gave. So
but that's my point.
My timer right now.
Hold on, wait. We better bring John in here. John, are you able to hear people?
On that. So,
okay.
I'll be transparent with you guys. I'm not a huge supporter of affirmative action in the way that it operates, because I feel like it limits opportunities. However, it is better than nothing. And I think that's the attitude that we talk about when you look at conservative principles versus liberal ideology as it relates to politics. I think that what you find in the Black community is that we are socially liberal while we are very conservative in our nature. And I think that why we skew to the Democratic Party so much is because their liberal ideology is safer for our community. It creates a barrier between those people who would do us harm and those people who would otherwise not ignore us, right? So it's not the reality of it for Black people is that it's a double-headed coin, where on one end you have one group who put no safeguards in place for the community, and it's this idea of everyone fends for themselves, everyone has bootstraps, and not acknowledging that some of us, due to the legacy of this country's history around slavery, don't have boots. Whereas there's another party who at least says, well, we know you don't have boots, so we're going to at least make boots available. And that's the difference between Republican and Democrat, conservative and liberal in the Black community. And so many of us like to rest under the umbrella of protection that is offered through liberal social programs and activities around the nation. And I think that's why we feel safer under Democrat, even though you look at the Bill Clinton crime bill, right? You look at
real quickly. Sorry, I would love to hear what you have to say, but your audio is a little bit more down than it was when you were talking previously. Okay. And so I want to give Wade a chance to speak, and hopefully you can get. Sorry, you have something you want to say?
Yeah, John, I'm gonna switch your cameras out because the last camera we can hear your audio better. So be prepared for that. I'm gonna do it now. All right.
I want to give Wade. Wade, I want to give you a chance to respond to that as well. You're still on mute, Wade.
Yeah, I was having a bit of a hard time hearing him. I was trying to hear everything he was saying. Yeah, I understand why Black people gravitate towards the Democratic Party. No one doubts why they do it. That wasn't in contention. My whole point about that wasn't to speak on Republican or Democrat or any of that in the first place. It was just that that's the only reason why people get labeled as a Black sellout is because they go against the Democratic platform in some way. That's the easiest way to get labeled a Black sellout. That's it. You shake your head no, but that's the fact. Name a Black sellout and what they're a sellout because of, and then let's look and see if that's on the Republican or Democrat side.
Now, real quickly, Wade, does anybody want to take him on that challenge? Does anybody feel comfortable?
Can I say, I don't know if this is a take you on, and I'm assuming Wade is on the more conservative side of the political spectrum, just based on what he's saying. So we would probably agree on things, but so I'm going to go from that perspective and say that Brother Wade, my conservative to some degree brother, it's important that we are very judicious about the words we use and the things we say. Because like when you say 90% of Black people are Democrats or 90% of white people are Republican or whatever it was you said, man, look, you make us look bad. When you said like most white people ain't Republican or however you worded it, man, you make us look bad. Come on, man. I mean, just be for real. There's a reason that people like the Hodge twins, which I think are really funny. I watched a lot of the videos. Candace Owens, I used to enjoy her podcast a lot until she started getting kind of woo-woo and that kind of stuff. Ben Carson, Armstrong Williams, Thomas Sowell, these type fellas, there's a reason that they stand out so much when they're black and conservative is because, at least on the national scene, that is very rare. Now, me personally, I think that boots on the ground, on the streets, that, you know, that the black community is primarily conservative when you talk to them about their family values and working for a living and things when it comes to things like Second Amendment rights and small government, stuff like that. But come on, man, there's a reason that these talking head celebrities like Owens and the Hodge twins and those type people get so much attention in the media, because the black Republican is so rare. And when you say anything different, you lose
I
credit.
want to get to comments after that. I want to get some.
Oh yeah, go
comments
get to the comments. After that, I'm gonna get Wade to respond, and then we're gonna go to John Martin, and then probably be closing it out pretty soon, and then Aki, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, there's a whole lot of people who look like Aki and are from the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, but they do not identify as black. They are Hispanic, and they choose to self-identify as that.
But, yeah, okay, cool. That was similar to what Aki mentioned earlier. So real quickly, what I want to do is just, Wade, go ahead and respond. And then we're gonna... Wade, you want to respond?
Oh, yeah. So I Googled it just because people kept attacking my numbers. So historical consistency, for decades, upwards of 80 to 90% of black voters have supported the Democratic candidate in presidential elections. However, there have been recent shifts. In the 2024 election, around 83% of black voters supported Kamala Harris, with 15% voting for Trump. Oh, gee, didn't I say 85%? Yeah, okay. So, according to Pew Research Center on data on
is not
voting,
85.
but historically,
83 is not 85, and 80% is not 90%.
The same thing that you're overlooking. For decades, upwards of 80 to 90% of black voters have supported the Democratic candidate in presidential elections.
So real quick,
go back through.
Now go look up the number for Republicans.
There have been recent shifts.
Dane, you're on mute.
But historically, 80 to 90%. But again, the specific percentages.
Dan, you're muted. Sorry.
My question is, was it or was it not lower?
I want to help you, T-Reason.
My question is, was it or was it not lower?
Hold on, y'all talking at the same time, one at a time, fellas, one at a time.
I'm going to help you, T-Reason, if you give me a minute. I can't believe Wade got me helping you. Hang on a minute, okay? If you just give me a minute, trust me. I'm a man of principle.
Like I said, Wade got you helping me either, brother.
On our last stream, I told you I stand on principle no matter who it associates me with or separates me from. So hang on a minute. Wade, you said that survey said what percentage of what voted what?
I said that the percentage in 2024 was that around 83% of black voters supported Kamala Harris, with 15% voting for Trump.
Okay, so what percentage is that 15% of black voters? What percentage of the black population in the country does that represent?
I have no idea.
Exactly. See, because it's important that we're very careful about the words we use and the arguments we present. Because what you're talking about is how many of the black people who went to the polls and voted for Kamala. That could have been a majority. It could have been a very small minority. We don't know. And that's my only point.
So real quickly, I want to say this. We got to go to the next topic real quick. I'm gonna give everybody closing comments that wants a closing comment. So you get a minute. So Aki, you want to go ahead and go? Go ahead, Aki.
You're muted.
You're on mute, Aki.
All right, just really quick, I want to name 3 black conservatives that most black people don't consider to be sellouts. One is Condoleezza Rice. I've never heard anybody black screaming that she's some type of sellout. The next one is Colin Powell, even though he did switch sides. And I believe that Eric Holder was a Republican at one point also. And no one called them sellouts. That's it.
You got 40 more seconds. You don't want any more time?
Yeah, I want to name. Well, I already named my my white sellouts. You know, I say John Brown, Nancy Pelosi, and Bill Clinton to be more modern. You know, that's who they consider to be sellouts on that side. So, and I would dare to say that any white progressive will be considered a sellout to a white conservative.
That's a big fat negative.
Oftentimes they get referred to as a rhino. Oftentimes.
Okay,
Negative.
Go ahead, T Reason. It's on you.
I mean, I pretty much said what I had to say, but a lot of times they do get skewed, and you don't have to just be a black Republican to be labeled a sellout. You have people who go from one music genre to the next, and they get referred to as a sellout. So when Wade said that the only time you can be a sellout is some political stuff, no, we have sellouts on sports. We have sellouts in music. We have sellouts in a lot of different categories. So when he said that statement, I was just like, no, that's not true.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead. So who else? Man on the street, you want to go ahead and make your comment?
Yeah, man, y'all, you done beat a dead horse. Only thing I'm gonna say to my man, my conservative brother Dane, is Kamala, man. Hey, we gonna pronounce the name, man. Call it by a proper name. That's all I'm gonna say.
Man, I'm from Alabama. I'm from Alabama. Hang on, brother. I'm from Alabama. I have 2 speech impediments that I deal with. I have a bad stutter, and I pronounce my R's like a W. Plus, I was raised like a marshmallow in a bowl of Cocoa Puffs. Man, I'm doing the best I can, man. I done raised 5 kids and been married to a crazy woman for 36 years. I'm doing good to speak, period.
That's the only thing I got to say, man.
All right,
if I could say something real quick, Vulcan, if that's possible.
Go ahead.
John Brown is not a sellout. John Brown stood on his principles. He stood on business, and he gave his life for it, and he charged into the mouth of the lion because of what he believed. He had a lot of supporters, black and white, but they were not man enough to stand up and support him and risk their life. He wasn't a sellout. He just stood for what he wanted, what he believed, and he gave his life for it. John Brown is a hero.
I agree.
Cola
I agree. But white people consider him to be a sellout. Not
no,
black.
sir. No, sir. No, sir. Racist white people, which is a segment of white people, might consider him. Man, look, most people who haven't studied history don't have no idea who John Brown is. Black, white, yellow, green, purple. But yes, some people would say because John Brown tried to start a slave rebellion and ended up seizing Harper's Ferry and got hanged for it, because they might say that. But that's not white people. Who ran the Underground Railroad? Okay, for the most part, white people.
All right, so
we gotta get to the comments. We're gonna get to the comments.
Comments. Go ahead. You got comments?
All right, comments. Help the best said Dane is shooting from the hip.
I'm
right
good.
now.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead,
Yeah, Dane is shooting for the hip right now. And the last comment said, help the best said, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. It's the same as black mothers and fathers telling their kids to work hard and they'll be somebody. Black people don't realize that they are Republicans on the low. John Martin did echo that already earlier.
Okay, so real quickly, Cola, do you have something you wanted to share?
I just want to say it's been great. Give the Caesars what is Caesars and pay your damn taxes. Close your mouth.
All right, John, it's on you. Closing. You got a minute to close it, whatever you want to cover. John Martin, you there? Okay, so I think we covered everybody. So all right, so we can go to the next one then.
All right. Next video is one of our guys on the panel. Shout out to the man on the streets. All right, here we go.
Just when I thought I heard it all. About 90 to 95% of the black church in America is objectively, by the standards of scripture, heretical.
Man, stop lying.
It doesn't even constitute a true church.
Stop.
You lying motherfuckers, stop.
They're teaching things that are absolutely in direct opposition to the Christian faith. If you listen to the message and you believe what they're saying, you will go to hell.
Who told you that?
I love Black people. I want them to know Christ. And currently, there are not enough Black men in America, Christian men, who know enough theology to be able to be qualified to pastor Black churches.
Bitch, please.
The Black church in America needs to be split up. It needs to go and find a good, God-fearing white church with biblically qualified men so that they can hear the real gospel of Jesus Christ and come to saving faith in him.
Oh, really?
Man, you don't get your goddamn non-cooking raisin and potato salad ass up on out of here with that nonsense.
Damn.
This guy's talking out the side of his goddamn neck. Talking about the Black church is not a true church and that Black pastors are not teaching Black Christians the true word of God and that they're going to go to hell.
What?
Talking about the Black church need to be broken up and that they need to go find some white pastors and white Christians so they can get the true word of God. Man, that doesn't make sense because when that was happening, what happened? The white Christians and the white pastors say that, hey, we can't congregate with people that don't look like us. And that's how the Black churches came about. Just when I thought I heard it all.
About 9.
All right, so we covered that right there. So I'm gonna give the man on the street the first go at this. So in a minute or so, what do you think about that video? You agree, disagree, and why?
You know, I agree. Come on, man. That's why I did the video, because this guy was talking out the side of his goddamn neck.
Language.
All right, that's okay. So Colo, how about for yourself? You agree with the guy, with one of the guys in the video? Who do you agree with, and why?
I need my composure for a second before I speak on.
You want to come back? I guess we'll come back to you, or what?
That's some bullshit. Just like he said in the video, like that is some crazy stuff. And when he's talking about like this religion and this theology, like, is he talking about the one that was stolen and changed? Is that why we don't know it? Because they stole it and changed it up so much we don't recognize it no more. I'm just saying.
All right, for the panelists, just to remind you, watch your language. Watch the language. G-rated.
Okay, so yeah, T Reason, it's on you. You agree, disagree?
That's a wild take.
Why?
The guy who the original video was focused on had a wild take. I disagree with everything he said. But I can understand why he may feel that way, but I know his take is wrong in so many different ways. But yeah, I disagree with it.
Why is it wrong?
Well, if you're preaching from the Bible, then that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And then I think we got to stop giving credit to people and the platform to people who make a statement without facts or information to back up their claim. He just made a whole bunch of bold statements, but he never said any reason to back up his claim. So I think that if you're going to make a claim, such a strong stance like that, you need to have something in there to back up that claim. He spent a lot of time saying that, Black pastors are not qualified, but he didn't give any reason. I didn't hear one reason to back up his claim as to why, Black pastors are any more or less qualified.
All right, Dane, it's on you.
My. Did anybody else notice that the guy talking about Black pastors looks like a Temu Matt Walsh? Did they look like Temu Matt Walsh to you? They look like Temu Matt Walsh to me.
When I first
But no, I think that the Temu Matt Walsh has a legitimate point. However, now don't come at me yet. Okay, we talking about Protestant churches. Okay, however, it's no more than people in what someone would consider a white church or a white pastor. But that's because the American church in general has really abandoned the Great Commission to make disciples. See, now my degree actually, this does not make my arguments correct, so I'm not making an appeal to authority, but my degree is it's a bachelor's in religious studies. So I hold a theology degree, and I am, believe it or not, I am also ordained and licensed. I have sat under so many white pastors who have PhDs in things like church growth and development. It's a business degree. That's not a theology degree. And I've
Okay,
sat
gotcha.
under pastors before that had no formal training, and they were building a business to make people feel shiny and happy and valuable. So
All right,
are black
I know you
pastors
can click on this
straight?
one, Dave.
Possibly.
All right,
White
Dan.
as well.
Yeah, I know you can click on this one. Wade, how about what's your thoughts on this?
I actually agree with T Reason, which I did not. Well, I wouldn't have expected.
Me either.
But no, he made a valid point. The guy didn't come with the receipts at all. He made these outlandish claims and then didn't bring any kind of receipts to say specifically what black pastors were lacking or what they were teaching that was counter to the Bible. He just made all these grandiose statements and then didn't follow through with any actionable ideas as to why his statements were true. And so I don't know if his statements are true. I haven't been to that many black churches. I've been to a couple, but not many for obvious reasons. So, I don't know what they're teaching in black churches. I haven't been to them. So I would need someone who does have that knowledge, who does have the experience to say, oh, black pastors are saying X, Y, Z. If he came in and said, black pastors are teaching that Mary was a hoe, well, then that would be something that I'd be like, well, yeah, no, if they're saying that, then that's kind of a problem.
Appreciate you, Wade. All right, Aki, it's on you.
Well, guys, I have very little to say about this because the problem is on both sides, on every side, in every religion. They all do it. Churches in general, and unless it's like Episcopalian or a Catholic where they try to stick to some type of biblical normative, but if they're just preaching from the pulpit, I mean, people are saying all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and so Crystal, how about yourself?
I can't say if I agree or disagree, but what I can say is I'm wondering if he was using the examples of these I'm going to call them fashion pastors, specifically the ones that Drewski was making fun of, that are doing all these shows and whatever, and they're not really preaching from the Bible and the biblical word, but also going with what Cola said, like which Bible, because they've changed it, and where's the original, and what the original teachings and all. So I'm wondering if that's what he had in his mind when he made this gregarious statement. We don't know what the pretense was, but I'm just wondering if that's what he was using as an example, because I don't know, but what it seems is they're not teaching from the Bible. They're not using biblical teachings, that they're using all these flashes and whatever other word you want to use, to engage their congregation. And
Gotcha.
then who was it? Marvin Sapp or whatever, that locked his congregation in to into the church until they donated whatever money or whatever. Maybe y'all know better than me, but I just slightly
Well, no,
remember
I'm
this.
not. I mean, we're gonna go to John Martin now, but I do want to make sure that's clear on that part, just so you have understanding. So my understanding was Marvin was at he was at a conference, so it wasn't his church, and he just said close the door. He didn't say lock the door. So I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure, and so for our minds, we automatically go to lock and you close the door. I've been to some churches where you can't leave to go to the bathroom until the service is over. So I didn't see people
Oh my.
for that situation. But John Martin, you go ahead and what you got to say on the topic? You're on mute.
Don't look like he's talking. Is he frozen?
Yeah, I think.
Hey,
There we go.
mic check.
Yeah,
Alright,
you're
that's
good.
better. That's better.
Okay, so I'll share a couple of things. So, in the history of Black people, it has never benefited our community to learn anything about anything from our white oppressive group. It's just never benefited us. The introduction of Christianity to Black people during the context of slavery was very detrimental because it reinforced the condition of slavery. During post-segregation, the things that you see that have manifested itself in the Black community from being educated in public education under that supervision has not benefited our community. Some of the detrimental things that you see going on as a result of that identity crisis that's been created as a result of learning under those conditions. And so the idea that somehow the knowledge is more pure or better is, I'm just going to abjectly object to that. There's no evidence in history that our community has benefited from that. And so I think that it's a control message. It's a way to undermine and to devalue the opportunity for self-determination. And I think that we have to always be careful when anyone interjects their opinion about what we are doing to empower ourselves. Faith is one of those things that demands some connection and identity to the Creator. And I think that in the original promulgation of Christianity in the United States, especially as it relates to enslaved African people, put us at a detriment because all of the images and all of the relationship were owned by white people. And so when you're praying to God, when you're praying to Jesus, and you're trying to change your condition, you're still praying to white people, which further subjugated Black people. And so having a legacy that grows from that, and that we've been able to learn other things now and kind of interpret the scripture in a way that's more reflective of us. When you talk about feet of brass, hair of wool, those are things that allow us to connect to the Creator directly and give us a much more valued experience around our faith practice, especially as it relates to Christianity. And so I just think that the idea that someone would come in and suggest that we would be better off worshiping in that space is just disingenuous, and it's just another weapon of an oppressive attitude, an oppressive
No
mindset.
weapon formed. I don't have a voice for it, but I appreciate that. So you got some comments you want to put in those?
Yeah, we got some comments. Shout out to Help the Bear said, "Oh, it's about to get hot in here. Vulcan, what have you done?" LOL, laughing out loud. Shout out to Help the Bear. We'll get back to the dialogue.
Okay, so really quickly, can you put the question up on the screen now,
Yes, sir.
We answered it more in the vague sense of just going up the video, but our question is a little bit more specific. So it's, if you had to guess, do Black churches struggle with doctrine more than white churches? So I just want to go on and get a yes or no. If you had to guess, obviously nobody knows. There's no crystal ball for none of this kind of stuff. Not that some of y'all would even believe in crystal balls anyway. But so we'll start from the bottom now, but with John Martin. So if you had to guess, would you say that Blacks struggle with biblical doctrine more than white churches?
Okay, relatively speaking. No, I just think the expression of our Christian values are very much different, because I think that there are other things that inform them socially. So,
Okay.
there's some tenets in the
I'm gonna give you a chance to explain. I just want to go around and get everybody's perspective, then I'm gonna come back to have you explain it. So,
Okay.
Crystal, how about for yourself? You say yes or no. Does the Black church struggle more with doctrine than the white church does, just generally speaking?
I don't think so.
Okay. Aki, how about for yourself?
No.
Wade?
Nope.
Dane? You're on mute, Dane.
See that? And I had it timed so well. My delivery was great. Y'all just didn't hear it. I said, silly question. Of course not. That's silly.
T-Reason.
It's hard to say, but I would say no.
Cola?
I would say no.
Man on the street?
No.
Now, real quickly, so I see you over there smiling right now, but I want to say this really quick. We know that it's very unlikely that it's the exact same. Is that fair to say? Everybody, we can all say it's unlikely that it's very the same. So would somebody say that the white church struggles more with doctrine than the Black church, if you had to kind of compare the two? Would anybody say that? Anybody will step up and say that part?
Yes.
Okay, so So Aki would say that the white church struggles more with doctrine than the black church, because we're not going to pretend that every single church is equal in every single area, right? We know that there are some that have better singers, some that are more doctrinally sound, some that have better coffee, some that have more comfortable pews. We can all agree with that stuff, right? We're still humans. We're still understand that there's natural sorting of, what we consider to be better and worse in certain categories. So, okay, so that being the case, nobody said yes.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say yes. I'll say
I take-
yes. And
okay,
and
'cause I
here's
was
what
gonna-
I'll say yes about is that the idea that the evangelical community supports Donald Trump is ridiculous. Period, point blank, all stop. Somebody who has his history with pedophilia, his misogyny, his violating the sanctity of marriage, who he has represented himself to be historically is a contradiction to a faith practice, because he has not repented for any of his transgressions or sins, and that is a predicate to being forgiven. You have to, and you have to. Part of the Christian doctrine is that you are to confess with your mouth, and he has done neither on any occasion about anything. He is unremorseful about it. He has a very reprobate mind when it comes to his transgressions and what that means for the people. So for anyone who has any familiarity at all with doctrine, to support him is a contradiction. And so I would say to you that I think that there is a struggle to adhere to doctrine in that way.
Before I bring this up to the panel, okay, does anybody want to disagree with that wants to speak to that really quick?
Well, I would, of course, I've always got something to say about everything.
Go ahead.
But I think that, caveat, okay, full disclosure, the first two elections, I didn't vote for him because of everything that John Martin down there is saying. Okay, so I'm not disagreeing that that's not a valid argument. But at the same time, there's two things we need to consider. Is that, Christians, whether they're evangelical or not, on the Democrat side, supported people like Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Bill Clinton, so on and so forth, that supported all sorts of things that were not in line with Scripture. So to me, that's just a moot point. That's all I'm saying. So that's one thing that we need to consider. There is that goes on across the board on both sides of the aisle and everything in between. Number two that we need to consider is, why is it that people like me spent 2 elections, 4 years saying the same thing that you, John, are saying right now, and then 4 years later voted for Trump? Why is that? It's because of the behavior, at least for me, the behavior of people on the left and how far the Democratic Party moved to the left and whatnot. That's why I've ended up voting for Trump. I had to hold my nose. I had to hold my urine. I had to hold my feces and hobble up there to check for Donald Trump, because I felt like it literally came to the question of which one do I want, the frying pan or the fire, the devil or the witch?
Yeah. So John Martin, did you want to respond to that, or?
Yeah, well, we know that most people who are liberal in their ideology are considered more secular as it relates to the faith community, and so they're more tolerant, and they have more bandwidth as it relates to the universality of some of the Christian doctrine, as it relates to not judging your fellow man, being inviting, so that there's an opportunity for Christ to take hold. Because in the faith community, you have the idea that Saul, who was a Christian killer, could become a prolific recruiter for Christ. And so part of the Christian doctrine is that you could be transformed, you become a new creature. And I think that some of the liberal and progressive mindsets around faith is to allow people to be welcome into the communion of Christianity, so that they may have that transformative experience. Whereas our counterparts, who are more punitive and more strict in their or orthodox in their practice of the faith, as they're anti-abortion and all these other different things, because of that rigidity, they didn't have flexibility, and they should not accept the ideals of someone like the president as part of their affinity group, because they are so strict on the narrow is the gate, and they allowed a person who is disregarded all of the tenets of the doctrine to then represent and support him fully, with no evidence that he would adhere to the standards of the faith, which is to be charitable, which is to be generous, which is to be compassionate. With none of those tenets did he ever express any ability to conform to, and yet they still supported him. And I think that that's where adhering to doctrine comes under question, because you can do it when it comes to things about productive rights. You can do it when it becomes about things related to, I guess, any number of things. And yet,
transgenders.
in this case, right? Well, in whether or not people use the same bathrooms, or gay, lesbian, trans, LGBTQ issues, and those types of things, is very exclusionary. And if you're going to have that type of narrow perspective, he should have never been let into the fold. And that is the truth. And so they compromised on a foundational principle that I think questions their integrity. I think we can question their integrity as a result of that.
So real quickly, Dane, did you want to respond to that, or I know you can respond?
Oh yeah, I can always make up something, but I mean, I don't really have a response for him. I mean, I just, okay,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have any response? I'm gonna have a story to tell. Man on the street, you got anything? You're on mute.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this quick. Like, I'm on Easter time. I'm past my bedtime. I can get up and go to work at 5:30 in the morning. But all I'm gonna say is back to your original question about the doctrine. I think that the doctrine has changed because we're not preaching what we was taught back in the day. Now in this day and time, everybody wanted fast, quick, and in a hurry. So everybody's not teaching the way that I grew up. I'm a 70s baby. So, you go to church from 12:30 to 5:30. You go to church Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. Nowadays you go to church, you get the whole show. You get the shows in the black churches and you get it in the white churches. But my issues with this man is that, like he said, he didn't put no type of didn't have anything to prove what he was saying. He was just putting out a bunch of nonsense. And for me, that kind of pissed me off, because I know some religious people. I know a lot of them. We know a lot of them. And when you go to church to hear the word of God. When we die, we don't know where we're going to go. Hopefully you go to heaven, hope you go to hell, but you might be in hell right now. So I don't know. But who are you to tell me how I should worship, or who I should go listen to? That, to me, that is just asinine. But that's just my take.
So real quickly, I want to say this. One, as far as the guy, and feel free to disagree with this point, when the guy doesn't mention any kind of support for his claim, that was a snippet. I don't know if in the broader context of what he was saying, if you watch the whole thing, if he does that. I know he actually had a conversation, from what she shared with me, this was like a panel. They had a panel discussion about something very similar to this. One thing I do want to say is, as a story, and I had a friend of mine, this is probably 2008, 2009, 2010 at the latest. And he was in a city that was a predominantly black city. And he shared with me that
you're wild, man.
I wasn't saying who it was.
Yeah.
You would take it over or what?
Yeah. So
I didn't say it was him, y'all.
Interesting dialogue. It was a time. I didn't grow up in church. Shout out to the man on the street. Say he went to church Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I didn't have that experience. Just to give a brief testimony for the audience and the panelists, I didn't know. I'm embarrassed to say this. I didn't know Jesus walked on water until I was like 19, 20. So that's how far removed I was from the church, right? So I get introduced to the gospel. So I'm reading scriptures. And when I got more involved into the text, I was getting my teachers from white pastors, right? So to John Martin, this is why I agree to the video to a certain degree. Now, as far as being sanctified, I wouldn't agree as far as black people living a holy life. in the context of this
Okay,
country.
you're gonna share the part I was gonna share.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
All right, yeah, let me get to the part because I'm long with it. So
Yeah.
I'm reading scripture. So when I read, because certain pastors I was listening to that exposed me to the doctrines of faith, they had what you call the pillars of faith. So they was able to have a rubric to follow on how to really understand the gospel. So when I got introduced to that, and I would go back to the black churches, I was called the heathen and demon doctrine and all this other stuff. So they was having a hard time to grasp what the gospel really was. So I to the video, I agree with that. I think
Hold on, let me finish the story really quick. So what happened
go ahead.
was I get a call. He's in, Augusta, Georgia, a really black city, and I'm in Texas. And I get a call one day, and he says, and this was him leaving the Christian faith at the time.
Yes.
He goes after his experience of being educated through a lot of white teachings, white people teaching the Bible and stuff like that, then going into the black churches in Augusta, Georgia. When he would go in there, they were looking at the stuff that he was saying and the stuff he was communicating, which was just Orthodox doctrine, and historical teachings, like stuff that from Jonathan Edwards and Spurgeon and different things of that nature.
Charles Spurgeon, yeah.
Literally PC study Bible stuff that you can Google and research and learn. He's taking it over there and printing it out and going over it, and they're looking at him like, what is this strange doctrine you're bringing to the church? So he calls me one day, and this is him leaving the Christian faith and going deeper into black existentialism. He goes, hey man, I'm sorry, man, I can't do this no more. I just can't believe that only white folks have the truth. And then he leaves the church. And we don't talk again about anything church related really for years. He just left. That was kind of the end of it. But his experience was when he took more technically sound doctrine into the black churches, they ostracized him for it.
And I don't know if you remember my quote. I said, black people, we're not ahead anywhere in this country when it comes to white people. We can't even get God right now. I just can't believe it. This one thing I want us to
left the church.
If you don't mind me saying this, though,
go ahead, John
if
Martin.
you grow up eating potato salad with raisins and apples in it, and you go to a black picnic and eat potato salad the way we eat it, you'll think that we got potato salad wrong.
The way we eat it. I want to know where people come up with this idea that white people put raisins in their potato salad.
Well,
I've never
there
seen
are
that.
people who put raisins and apples, and I've been to. I don't go to the cookouts, but I've
That's
been
a
to
myth.
the
If you don't go
potlucks.
to the cookhouse, then how you know it happened? Somebody told it to you, and you believe it. Somebody told you, and you believe that racist trope.
I've worked in diverse environments, and I've
I
gone
have
to the
to.
potlucks. I've gone to the
Once in my life
potlucks.
ever.
But my point is,
Your point is full of crap.
Well, you could take that, but what I will say to you is,
When have you seen white people with raisins in their potato salad?
Well, the idea of it is, metaphorically, if that makes you feel more comfortable, Dane, is that if you grow up eating it one way and you're served it another way, a different way, you'll think something's wrong with the latter way. And so there is an opportunity for there to be some contradiction there. And it sounds like in those days, you were more receptive to your introduction to the faith as it related to your learning than you were, and the environment that you were trying to take it into were not embracing of that. And so there is a contradiction and a conflict there, and it's natural because what you were bringing in was foreign to that space. And who's to say which is the right and who was to say which is better, right?
So that's a really good point.
Point.
I would like people to come into this if they want to, but what I'm hearing is we got two sides of it. One side is like, okay, it's not that one was better or worse as far as doctrine goes. It was just different. That's side A of the issue. And I think that's what John Martin elocuted very well. The other side of it is saying that no, there is a hierarchy of holding to teachings and doctrine more closely. There is that, and we all know that exists in everything in life. They're saying it exists there too, and I think he knows it was. Are you saying that it was just different for you? Or are you saying that you could tell one was being more technical about doctrine?
One was being more technical about doctrine.
I want. So go ahead. Go ahead.
I can say both. It's both.
I want to ask Enos about this situation. Was one of them a black church preacher from the pulpit and a white church preacher from the Bible? Because that confusion does happen when you have, but there are white churches that preach from the pulpit also, and there are also black Catholic churches and black Episcopalian churches too that teaching that same way that you say the white people were teaching you. So, did you go from a structured church to a pulpit, like a Episcopalian? I mean, a Protestant church or something like that?
Yeah, they was all Protestant Baptists, both
Both
same
of them?
denomination, if you want
Okay.
to. Non-denominational Baptist. I forgot. I'm having a brain fart right now, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's okay.
there was
So, so real quickly. So, Enos made his point about that, but I
Protestant,
think
that's
the
what I'm
general
saying,
consensus about from everybody is that there really is no real distinction there, and if it is, it's pretty marginal. So, we can go. Anybody have any closing statements they want to make on this topic?
What? Of course I do.
Jesus Lord.
All right, Dan, you got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
I would just like to make the point that the thing that ends up causing these sorts of questions is that so many people speak with authority as if they know stuff, especially on race, but other subjects too, when they really don't have any objective reason to believe it. White people will say, black people do this, black people do that, black people do the third. Black people say, well, white people do this, white people do that, white people do the third. If you actually address them and ask them how much time they've spent in relationships, actual meaning relationships, your feet under their dining room table, their feet under your dining room table, you sitting out on the back porch eating ribs, that sort of stuff, your kids spending the night at their house, their kids spending the night at your house, real relationships like you do with your fellow black people, your fellow white people, you'll find out they don't have that. They don't have that. So what they're repeating when it comes to raisins and potato salads, or white people don't beat their kids and that sort of stuff. My mama beat the heck out of me and my brother. I whooped my kids. But that sort of stuff, our racial peers tell us that. And because we trust them, we accept it. But that's the only reason we had to believe it. But some folks will fight tooth and nail to defend that as, oh, white people do this, white people do that. The only thing I know of, I can think of, but I think white people do that's not very common in the black community is recycling. But those people just like to feel like they're saving the planet when all they really doing is sorting out their trash. But other than that, I mean, that's it. So, I mean, it just gets very irritated when I hear people cling to that.
I do want to elaborate on.
Can I say one thing, please? Because Dane be saying some wild, outlandish stuff on here.
Sure.
One thing I can say is that black people definitely recycle. And as a black man from Georgia, by way of New York City, I lived in New York City and Atlanta, Georgia. I also lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now I live in San Antonio, Texas. I can tell you that black people are the most inviting people on the planet. You never see videos,
I won't argue against that.
You never see videos of white people welcoming their black friend in. Oh, look at, he really enjoys the Thanksgiving. Look at that. You don't never see that.
I won't argue against that.
I will say this: a lot of the videos you see circulating about these pranksters that are like, will ask for help and then give money. You do tend to see a higher percentage of the blacks doing that stuff. And then the lady who was calling different churches asking for help was with a fake baby noise. I think one thing she did mention was that the black churches were a lot more likely to help people out.
Look, black people are way more inviting and congratulatory to white people.
I got no argument against that. I got no argument against that. When I was being raised up, my mama always said, if your car break down the side of the road, the person gonna stop to help you probably gonna be a black man. So there's no doubt in that. But that does not address what I'm saying, which is that very few of us have actual meaningful, long-term, interpersonal, actual relationships with people on the other side of whatever that wall is. So since we don't, we need to stop talking about what people on the other side of the wall do and don't do based on what our family, friends, and other people that don't know nothing says. That's my point.
This happened because of white flight. white people left the cities and moved out to the suburbs doing blockbusting and redlining, and that's why 75% of white people don't even have a meaningful relationship and don't even know one black person, and that is a fact.
In other words, you're not responsible for anything in the situation.
I know
You
plenty
just
of white people myself. I'm not talking
you
about
know them. You know them. That's like people I know that say I ain't got nothing against them black people. I work with them. Some of my best friends is black people. You know, I went to school with them. That don't mean nothing. I'm talking about actual engaging relationships with them on the same depth and level as your black friends. That's what I'm talking about.
I have them.
Oh, sure you do. Sure you do. If you did.
So real quickly, I think Enos, you had a point you wanted to make as well, right?
I wanted to comment what John Martin was saying. Now, to elaborate more of my this road to understanding what I was experiencing, I noticed it's just two different cultures and how we deal with text. And the way we approach the Bible culturally, I'm just dealing with the culture, is different from how, it's similar to how we are in the school system, how we are in the music we choose. The music we choose, just our culture is different how we interpret text or how we go about teaching. So that was the difference that I wasn't able to.
Before we go to the next topic, I want to give you a chance to address that. We're going to go to the next topic.
And Dane, my bad about the raisins and the apples and the potato salad, brother. It was just metaphoric for the conversation. But I will say this: we're very dismissive of the impact and the legacy of slavery on Black people.
And the women in this room. I've been trying to speak for 15 minutes.
Oh, well, go ahead on.
No, y'all already on y'all soapboxes.
My bad. Go
honestly,
ahead.
So I'm mixed, right? Black, I'm Mexican. My mother's mother passed when she was a child, so my grandmother is white. My grandmother is who introduced me to religion. I grew up going to church with her, Catholic. My Black grandma is Jehovah's Witness. So I got two totally strict. When I went to one grandma's house, we learning this. And when I went to another grandma's house, we learning this. And then to get older and go to
I'm glad you didn't need a blood transfusion.
Look. So I can say it really just depends on where you go. I've been to a lot of white churches, Hispanic churches, and Black churches. And I will say that if they are Bible-based and they're teaching from the Bible, you are going to hear a lot of different things. However, there are certain times when they don't do that and they just have like there's certain messages that they cycle. You don't really get a full message. You don't really
what culture are you talking about? The white, Hispanic, or white? Which one are you talking about? You talking about all of them?
I've seen it in both.
Okay, both. Okay.
In both, but I will say that I learned more once I started going to just like more Bible-based like churches versus the ones that just teach theology broadly and they have like their own thing and they don't really go through the whole Bible or they don't teach the full lesson.
Okay, now John Martin, if you want to finish what you were saying, and after this we'll go to the next topic unless Crystal or Wade has something they want to add or TV.
Just the only thing is that I think that
you're back on mute.
In these conversations, what often gets lost is access and lineage, right? And so when it comes to how these things are managed and how they're introduced and how the Bible is taught, there is a significant cultural impact. When you have a legacy of oppression, and I'm going to say it that way, where the word in the scripture, you're praying to a God that was introduced to you by your oppressor. And somehow it is you transcend this condition through that prayer to that God, right? And then you go through stuff like Jim Crow, you go through the stuff like the civil rights movement, and you continue to go through things where you have a different way of manifesting the things that you've earned, that you've learned, and that you know about doctrine. And it's all relevant in the sense that your connection to the doctrine and the way that you translate that is very different. You see, culturally, we are an expressive people. Culturally, you see things like you have freestyle in music, you have freestyle dance, you have all of those things where the interpretation of the information is defined, it is designed to address the condition that the people are going through. You cannot have a organized doctrine that is going to make sense in a slave environment. You don't have an organized doctrine that's going to make sense in lynching. And the people who are lynching you read the same doctrine. It's just not going to make sense. And that is the way that Christianity has evolved in our culture in America, is out of that. So there are going to be some disparities in the way that those doctrines are taught and the way that they're realized when they're transferred to other people. It's just the nature of the environment, and we can't ignore the legacy of that condition when we're talking about things like this, and the way that we interact and engage in it. We just can't ignore it.
So are you saying
that breakdown? Let's go ahead and pull up we got any comments? We don't have any comments. Go ahead and get the next question or video ready to go.
Let's just get right into the next video.
Okay.
Could I say something real quick, Vulcan?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. John, man, John, I don't take none of this seriously. I'm here to defend worldviews, and I'm here to speak up for the truth. But no, man, I'm the kind of fella, me and you could go back and forth, yelling and hollering and screaming. We could talk about each other's mamas if we wanted to. And when that debate is over, the debate on the issue is over, I'll take you out to lunch, or I'll let you buy me lunch, man. So I don't worry nothing about that. But in the last few years, I've come across young black people, that I'm friends with, like I'm a mentor at my company, and I end up developing actual like personal relationships with them. And I've come across them like this one young lady who was shocked, I tell you, shocked to find out that white people eat hog maws and tripe, pig's feet, and collard greens. She was floored that she believed that white people didn't eat that kind of stuff. So I think that within that social sort of stereotype, we end up people get communicated very, very inaccurate information, and then they form their worldview towards the other, whoever that is, based on that. So that's why I spoke up about the raisins.
Appreciate that, Dave.
Raisins in my potato salad, so you ain't offended me.
That's all right, so hopefully this next one doesn't offend you, Dane. All right, let's go, Enos.
What is your ideal age for your man?
30.
What race is your ideal man?
Black.
Minimum height?
6'3".
Minimum income?
90,000.
90,000? The likelihood of you finding your man is 0.036%.
So real quick, if you could just go to the comments, Enos, and scroll down till you see that picture. And when you do that, I don't know if you're able to blow it up.
Not on this one.
Well, on this, so this right here is a white lady being interviewed by a black guy. There's hundreds of these videos online, and what you see is when the white lady expresses that her preferred type of guy is black, you go into the comments, see a lot of racist comments from white men to, the white women and to whoever's watching it, calling them mud, whatevers, and monkeys and stuff like that. And then also what you see is there was another video that was out that I couldn't find and put it on there from the cover, but you see that what happens is there's white women that are coming out and Hispanic women, but just for the purpose of the conversation, white or Hispanic, that are saying that, white males will ask us if we've been with a black man. So, Enos, can you get the question, pull the question up?
Yes, sir.
And so in light of that, I got a question for you, everybody here. Why do we see white men attacking white women for dating black guys? And I want to start off with Crystal on this. Go ahead. If you have any personal experience, either way, if you haven't dealt with it or you have dealt with that, feel free to share.
I haven't really seen being attacked, a white man attacking white women for dating black guys. In my experience, I've only seen I'm gonna say some trepidation from some like white family members, but they have no problem with it. It just was something different than they expected, and then also a a, a black female had very much a problem. I haven't seen any problems with white men attacking white women for dating black guys. Maybe I've just missed it. I don't know.
Okay. And T Reason, how about yourself?
Yeah.
Do you see it? If you do see it, why do you think it is?
Yeah, I see it happen all the time, and I think it happens for a lot of different reasons. I think obviously racism is the number one reason. Fear of loss is another reason. Fear of competition. Also, protecting your future generations or however they word that, is another reason. There's the list can keep going on and on and on. As to why it happens, and we do see it happening because if you look in those comments, you're gonna see comment after comment after comment. They may throw in racial slurs and different things like that because they feel indifferent towards it. It's not something they want to see happening. And I think that even in her response, when she said trepidation, I think that's another reason. I mean, fear is the reason, So I think we see it happening, and I think that's pretty much what we're talking about. So yeah, that's all I have on that.
So, Aki, how about for yourself? Have you experienced that at all? Do you agree that that's a thing? And then also, what's your thoughts on why it may be, or if it is?
No, I don't know anything about that.
Okay. All right, Wade. How about for yourself? You're on mute, Wade.
Yes, I've seen it. And the reason is because of penis size envy, period.
Penis size envy.
White men are afraid of a girl having been with someone with a larger penis than they have. And stereotypically, black men have larger penises and they're afraid of it. And so then they get all upset and twisted and all up in their feelings about it. And then they come out with all these slurs and stuff to put the woman down because they don't want to be with a woman who has been with someone who is bigger than them so that they can then be negatively correlated in the future. So she can say, oh, well, you're smaller than my ex, blah, 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 whatever.
Got you.
They
Okay.
all want to have their ego stroked all the time and be told that they're the best lover that has the biggest junk. And there you go.
So real quickly, you can see it on here on the screen. This was in the comments. So you see here Mud Sharks showing off their niglet on Facebook. She's got a black eye, and then you see the monkey, my whole world. So this is what somebody put in the comments, and you see this if you watch any of these kind of videos, you'll see this pop up a lot, especially on TikTok, but you see it on on all the different platforms. A lot of these comments coming from white males or bots or a mixture of the two, who knows. And so I want to go next to Cola. You haven't spoken to this yet, Cola? What do you think? Do you think it's a real thing? And then, if so, why? You're on mute.
I'm gonna go with yes. It is a real thing.
Okay. Why do you believe it's a real thing?
Just cultural differences. People are insecure of things that are not like them.
Okay. Now I want to just to give so you can give more context to it. I don't see it so much from Hispanic to white and white to Hispanic. I typically see it white to black online anyway. Is because so I'm saying that the difference you would presumably will be in all the different situations, but why do you see it from white to black? Or you would say that it is across the board the same thing?
Oh, you see it all the time. Like everywhere online, you always have these videos and it's comparing like, why is this okay, but this isn't? And it talks about the fact that it's okay typically for a Black woman to be with a white man, but it's not okay for it to be on the vice versa. It's always looked at like as taboo.
Okay. Well, I want to go ahead and bring Dane in. Dane, what's your thought on this?
Yeah, I like how you went straight to Cola, skipped over me because you know I get on a diatribe and everything. And I am baffled why Wade is so interested in somebody's penis size. I'm just kind of shocked about that. And then before he got finished his comment, he talked about stroking egos. I hope ego is not some euphemism. But so you know, Wade, I'm a pretty decent, I'm white guy, if you want to say it like that. Now, I am 327 pounds now, but if I lay on my back, I'm toting the business, buddy, just to let you know. So that's a lie. Now, when I'm standing up, it might be different, but when I'm laying on my back, look out, man.
Hey, as long as the ocean has motion, hey, we're all
that's what I'm talking
right?
about. But to the topic, I think that situation is the case pretty much for the same reason that you hear so many Black women complaining about Black men getting with white women when they say, oh, that's just cause they can push them around and control them and they're a lot more agreeable and peaceful and stuff like that. But I think it just boils down to the fact that there is an inherent, almost ontological bias in human beings for in-group bias and that sort of stuff. So when we see someone climbing out of the bucket, we like crabs. When crabs go to climb out of the bucket, the mother crabs reach up and grab onto them crabs and they want to pull them back down. That's that in-group bias. So it happens in both groups. It happens in other demographics. It's not even racial. And it just boils down to, I suppose, when they see that happen, they feel like, we were talking earlier about who's a sellout. They feel like they're somehow or another being sold out or passed over or discounted or whatever for whatever reason. But that's just human nature. Wade, get your mind off of the PPs, man.
I'm gonna give you a chance to respond to that, but I want to go to John Martin real quick.
Okay, mic check.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so one of the things that, so we talk about the stereotype of penis size and all that stuff. One of the things we have to acknowledge, and you guys, I'm going to hit you with history all the time, because I think that there's a lot of things that we either ignore or have forgotten. But during the slave trade and auctioning of Black people, you had Black people standing on stages naked. And so it's not a myth. A lot of people saw Black men naked, and a lot of people saw Black women naked. And those bodies, those legends and legacies of those conversations have permeated the culture in America throughout history. That's why oftentimes when Black men were lynched, their members were dismembered and put in their mouths and different things like that, because there is an obsession with that particular characteristic in Black men. And so there is a correlation between that image and that legacy that kind of fuels that attitude. As far as it relates to in the Black community, oftentimes there's a limited opportunity for partnership with Black men for Black women. And so anytime a viable candidate is taken from that group, it's a loss. You feel like there's a missed opportunity for you to find a partner that you want. And so I think that in the conversation, to answer the question, I've not observed the behavior outside of some things a while back, but the reality of it is, I think that there's a lot of fear and things related to interracial dating and marriage that I think kind of impacts those people who choose to engage in it. And what I tell my kids, you got to go with love first, respect and love first. And then those other things will fall in alignment. But I think that a lot of people are afraid of those unknown things. They're afraid of how other people are going to react, because we do know that there's a history of violence against people who are who are involved in those types of relationships. There's denial to access to resources. There's all kinds of things that happen historically. Now, currently, I'm not sure how those things are manifesting themselves, or if they are occurring at the same rate that they were, because I think that that the modern American kind of sees things a little differently. You know, those people who are under the age of 35, I think, are moving a little differently. But they're being sucked into the old way of thinking in some other ways, but I think they're moving differently.
So one thing I want to say, I appreciate you sharing that. I want to say this. I'm going to address what you just said to some extent. You do see some of that stuff written about when you look at what happened in the Vietnam War. There is some literature about the difference between the black soldiers that were over there and the white soldiers and the Asian women. And so there is literature you could look at. There are different groups that would travel to Africa historically. They would write about the people like, everybody does. You go to a different, civilization, you write about what you see, what you don't see, all the different kind of things. So there's some historical context to it about this. And then also I want to say this, a lot of Black existentialists, people that were like conscious in the conscious community, woke community, one of the prevailing theories, or one of the biggest theories in the Black community about why there is racism to begin with, is what they would call a penis envy. That's something that's been around for a long time, whether you agree with it or disagree with it. That is one of the reasons why it is suspected at some points that, white males ultimately didn't like Black males. Like, they're trying to figure out what it is. One of the things they say is they believe that it might have been penis envy. So that is something that Wade is not like way out in left field with that. That is something that's historically been mentioned many times. So Wade, I want to give you a chance to respond to what you've heard, and also to Dan, because you're the only one that really said your reason.
That isn't my reason.
Well, not your reason.
Let me get that clear. I don't make those posts. I don't have envy. So just to be clear here, that's not a problem that I have, but I think that it's a problem that's why it happens, is, largely because of that one factor. And then it gets shown in other ways, but I think that is probably one of the bigger reasons for it, and you can see it when you start seeing those conversations happen more in depth, beyond the one-liners that they throw out as comments. If it gets
drinks in them,
if it gets more in depth, it almost always boils down to, I'm worried that the woman that I'm with, if she's been with someone that's bigger or better than me in the past. And so I see that happen in those conversations, where that's what it boils down to, is that ultimately the guy making those statements is worried that the woman that he's with is going to compare him negatively.
Got you.
With her prior adventures.
I don't know that would be a black-white worry, though. That would be a man worry in general for some men, not for me, because like I said, I lay on my back, I'm standing on business. But that would seem like that would be a concern for men in general when they come across a woman that has a high body count. He's going to have that same question.
Same thing. You're right. You're not wrong at all. And that's when you see guys that are worried about high body count. Same thing. It's penis envy, but specifically when we're talking about Black men with white women, that's where that comes from. Is definite, even on a one, like, because they make the comment that once you go Black, we don't want you back, stuff like that.
That's not the comment. The comment is once you go Black, you don't go back, which is a lie. No. I know several women that did.
Okay, that's the comment that you were just saying. Yes, that's what the world says in general. But those men that make those anti comments on the deals, their response to that is, once you go Black, we don't want you back.
So real quick, I think we covered that one really well. So we got one last Got one last topic to go over. So wait, you had something else you want to say real quick?
Oh no, I was just wrapping it up.
Can I
Okay,
throw something out real
one
quick,
more.
Vulcan? Can I say something real
Go ahead,
quick?
Dave.
Just because I'm just, when it gets into any kind of debate or logic, rhetoric thing, I'm just real funny about like the words we choose, the semantics. Penis envy was from Sigmund Freud, and it was a stage of what he believed was a little girl's psychosexual development, where she realized that she didn't have one and would have feelings of insecurities and weakness. And he believed that if she got arrested in that stage and didn't mature through it, that she would end up the masculine lesbian. I think what you're speaking to and what Wade down here is speaking to is, it sounds close to the same thing as penis size envy. Like that. It's in that, I know it's easy to confuse, but that's two different dynamics. So I just wanted to clear that up. But other than that, I'm gonna sit here and be quiet.
Okay, we appreciate that breakdown right there. So
Sound like you're more knowledgeable on the subject than Wade.
On the subject of what?
The penis envy and all of that stuff, man. All that crazy jargon.
No, I'm real knowledgeable and educated on human social development is what it is. But yeah, no, I'm real knowledgeable of my own, but that's about it. I
think Wade had a good point, and I think what Wade was saying, there's a lot of truth to what he was saying. I don't think it's the only reason, but I think it's one of the overarching reasons. I think there's two overarching reasons: race protection and obviously, well endowment syndrome. You see what I'm saying? So those two things are at the forefront. So don't come down on Wade for just bringing out the issue. He's just speaking to the issue. He never said it was his own personal issue. He was just saying, we asked the question, why do they act that way? And he responded with an answer. He never said it was from personal experience. But you took it upon and put the overarching cover on him that's his issue. It's not his personal issue. It's just that's what he sees, and that's the.
I didn't say, as usual, you're making up the stuff that you imagine. I didn't say anything about it being his issue. I didn't say anything about it being his issue.
You did, though. You asked him what is his obsession.
No, that's not saying it's his issue. I didn't say what is his obsession. I didn't even say that. What I said is that I was baffled as to why he brought that up and said it. That's got nothing to do. That's not what you said. But I mean, that's a cool story anyway.
I don't think he had an obsession. I think he was just bringing out the example, and he was using that as an example, and you kind of attach it to him. Personally.
All right, T-Reasons, let me get to the comments. I'm sure penis envy is real. I doubt that is the driving force behind these comments today. Losers like Nick Fuentes have gotten quite popular, and insecure racists to feel more emboldened. Shout out to I Am Cal. All right, let's get to the next topic, fellas. Excuse me. Here we go.
All right, so y'all, it says pick from nationality, culture, race, and religion on which one you value the most and why. So we'll start with Cola. Out of nationality, culture, race, and religion, which one is most important to you? You could just do one word, just pick one word, and then we're gonna go to explanation afterwards. But just to get through everybody, that's four out of the four options. Which one is, if they're all on different teams, you need to pick a team to ride with. Which one are you riding with?
For culture.
Culture? Okay. Okay, Dane, what about for yourself?
Religion, 100%.
All right, Wade, how about for yourself?
Culture.
Okay, Aki.
Culture.
T-Reason.
Culture.
Okay, Crystal.
Religion.
Religion. Okay, so if you can put that comment of that tweet, whatever it was, up there. So this is why we're having this question right here. Why we're having this conversation. This was sent to us, so we thought it might be good to
cover.
Just
give me a few minutes. To pull that one out.
Okay.
Let's get back to the question. All right.
Okay, so as far as the question goes, I didn't know we weren't gonna have that thing ready. So I think what we'll do right now is, so everybody just explain your why, and let me get the timer back out again here. And Cola, if you can, in just 30 seconds or less, explain what you chose and why you chose it.
Well, religion is not spirituality, and the closest to spirituality will be for the culture out of those options. So
okay, well, just for the sake of the conversation, real quick, because that I just would apologize. We could have did a better job wording the question. I didn't want to make it two options. So by religion, I mean your spirituality, whatever it is you worship or don't worship, and wherever you get your values and stuff from. Because culture is, of course, the cuisine. It's your spiritual practice, all that kind of stuff is kind of rolled in when you're talking about how you study culture. But just for the sake of the conversation, culture is, you know, how you've been cultivated, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But your religion is whatever your deity or not deity is.
No, religion and spirituality ain't the same thing.
Yeah, well, let's pretend for this conversation that we're saying spirituality and religion.
Spirituality.
So you would go with spirituality.
Yes, because that's the essence of you.
And why is that?
Because that's the essence of you. That's the essence of your spirit. That's your third eye.
Okay. So real quickly, we have here, this is, I don't know who this person is specifically, but this comment made its way to us, so I wanted to cover it. He goes, blacks will always be black first and Christian a distant second at best. So that was what prompted that question. And so I did my own little study, today and yesterday to ask random people of all different groups what they thought about it, what they would pick. But we'll get to that a little bit later on. So Dane, for yourself, 30 seconds if you don't mind.
30 seconds to explain. Can you refresh my memory? I'm sorry. 30 minutes to explain about why I said religion?
Yes, why you said religion or spirituality, whichever one.
Well, no, spirituality, you usually hear that out of, no offense, Cola, I'm not saying you, but typically my experience with women who said, I'm spiritual, I'm not a Christian, that usually means that they wanted to be looked at as a good person like a Christian, but they want to have a lot of sex. Not against you, Cola. I'm just saying my own anecdotal experience, anyway. But no, if I can agree on religion, I don't care
where you live and where you be. I need to just go follow you around.
You won't be the first woman to want to follow me around, I promise you that. But no, actually, you probably would be the second. I married the first one. But anyway, no, if we can agree on religion, we can build a legacy together. I don't care what kind of food you eat, what kind of music you listen to. I don't care what kind of dances you do, or if you can't dance at all. I don't care what color your skin are. Like, let's look and say, like my daughter, for instance, treat my daughter good. Be a patriarch, lead the family, leader in the Lord, take care of my grandbabies and everything. I don't care what color you are or nothing. Are you going to lead my daughter and my grandchildren to the gates of heaven? If that's the case, that's all I need to know.
All right, Mr. Wade, how about on yourself? What do you got?
I chose culture because it's the one that you have the most control over. Everything else is pretty much the way you were born. You don't get to choose what nationality you are. You don't get to choose what race you are. As much as we like to think, well, people can leave their religion, but they almost never are born in a Christian area and then become Muslim, or born in a Muslim country and then become Christian. That's very, very rare that people actually swap out their religion other than just going to agnostic or atheist from whatever they were born. So culture is the thing that you have the most choice over because it's who you surround yourself with. It's the media that you ingest. It's the everything that you do, and you have more control over that than you do any of the other three.
Got you. Okay. And Aki, for yourself.
I chose culture because race is fake. It doesn't exist. Religion, I think that people do actually change their religions a lot, especially when they get educated. People change their religion when they get married a lot. I know a lot of people who were Christian that became Muslim, especially black men who are 5%ers. A lot of them. And religion, I think that I just talked about religion, but race, is crazy. And then nationality really doesn't matter because all these nations are made up by the British anyway, so it doesn't really even matter.
Okay. And so for you saying culture, do you mind kind of defining that a little bit? What do you mean by culture?
Culture is what you grew up around, who you grew up around. It doesn't have anything to do with race. I know a lot of white people who are culturally black, a lot of them. I know a lot of white people who are culturally black. I know a lot of, I actually have a friend of mine who's Japanese, actually my sister's friend. Her name is Lily. She came to America. She went to Spelman College as a transfer student, and now she talks like a black man. which is funny. But Lily is very, very African American. When I was growing up, I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't even know about race until I moved to the South. I really didn't. Everybody was just everybody. And then when I came to Atlanta, all of a sudden I was black. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? But again, I had Hispanic friends growing up in Atlanta that I didn't even know were Hispanic. I had a Filipino friend who looked Filipino, and it never occurred to me that he was Filipino. I just thought he was light-skinned and black. So, it's society that puts all of these strange things on people, and we just need to stop. Culture is the most important thing, period.
Okay. All right, T Reason, it's on you.
All right. For me, I think culture encompasses everything. I think culture encompasses your race because it's going to impact, how you interact with your people. I think it's going to dictate, for the most part, your religion you're going to choose. And, I think it's the overarching one for all of them. Race, religion, all of that kind of fall in line to those things. So your culture, you have a lot of control over your culture, or at least more control over that one than some of the other ones. Race is something you're born into. Religion is almost like something you're born into, and then also religion can be an act. And that's the problem that I have with religion is it's not rooted in faith, it's rooted in acts. So a lot of religions, a lot of people who put their religion first are into the act of the religion, but it's all ceremonial, like the Catholic Church to me is very ceremonial. They don't tend to preach from the Bible. So religion wouldn't be at the top for me. My faith is at the top, but religion wouldn't be at the top. So let
me interject here because, and Krista, you're gonna go next. I just want to say, like, by religion, because I think we're finding ways to kind of splice it up to where they're different, but religion just encompasses everything that has to do with whatever is transcendent to you. If you, I don't know who holds to being a Christian or not, but in the Bible, the book of James, Christianity is referred to, or the religion they're called, this is pure and undefiled religion. They refer to it as religion in the book of James. So it's not like the Bible never says that it's a religion. Muslims don't deny that they're what they have as a religion. Now there's, it might be the faith aspect of it versus, but if you're doing something religiously or practicing something on a routine basis that has to do with whatever your transcendent beliefs are, that would be my religion. So I don't want to make it to a religion as something that is not for the purpose of this conversation. It is whatever your faith is, whatever your spirituality is, whether it's Wiccan, whether it's whatever it is. So that being the case with, T Reason, let's say, for instance, if I you identify as some type of Christian.
That's correct.
So let's say you have somebody who grew up next door to you with the identical culture, as far as the food y'all eat, the music you listen to, the kind of woman you find attractive, all that kind of good stuff. There's all pretty much the same thing, but he's Muslim. Then you take somebody who grew up in a completely different context, different side of the world, but they're Christian like you, but they eat different types of food, they're attracted to different kind of things, they have a different value system for different kind of things. In that situation, who would you feel like is more closer to being your brother or sister?
I mean, that's a tough question. It's on a case-by-case basis. So, I mean, that's still kind of hard. It's not an easy answer to that question.
I got you. I was just seeing if that was, so it would still be like, okay. Well, Crystal, for yourself.
I have to touch on what Key said because I grew up in an army town and I didn't know that there was different races until I moved to the South as well, which is funny. But I identify, with religion because I feel like if our, values, and everything align, that's the one that I'm gonna choose. I don't care about nationality or race, and a culture can be anything, but religion I feel like has to be rooted in the same foundation that I am in.
Okay, well, does anybody have a disagreement? Anybody want to cross-examine somebody or delve deeper into what somebody said?
Well, Vulcan, if I could say this, man, I really think you and Enos, y'all need to really put in some hard work, man, do the work to come up with better questions. Because this question here has got me about 95% agreeing with Aki and that T Reason guy, and that's against the laws of nature. So we need to do something, man. We need to do something.
I gotta find something.
I would like to, on a serious note, I would like to speak to this whole thing. I've heard from two different of the panelists as well that I didn't even know race until I moved to the South. I get what you're saying to an extent. I'm not saying that's not your personal experience, but then I think about every time I see race violence, it ain't in the South. So the implication when someone says, I didn't even know race until I moved to the South is that outside of the South, that everybody gets along and there is no race issues. My contention is in the South, yeah, we'll talk about race. We'll talk about that stuff. We're out in the open about it, but we love one another for the most part. We love one another. We deal. We have what a lot women and feminized men would call boundaries and that sort of stuff. And we live primarily peacefully with one another in 2026. I know we can go back to civil rights and before and all that kind of stuff. We live with people. But when we go to places like LA, Chicago, Detroit, Minneapolis, these kind of places, we end up dealing with people who walk around being a nice person. And these white liberals, usually women, no, I'm sorry, but these white liberals who say, well, I don't speak like that. And, you know, I used to work for Lowe's delivering appliances, and I had one of them women one time we delivered an appliance to, and the guy working with me was a black guy, and she made it a point to tell him that I don't see you as a black man. I just see you as a man. And that's what you run into. And then when something happens, because all of that racism from the white liberals, it's building, and then it's like boom, and then things break out and they burn their city down, or they.
Anybody want to address any of that?
I mean, I didn't mean it in like a negative, connotation or whatever. I guess because I was in an army town, like I literally grew up with every kind of country, people from different countries that you could think of. I remember going to somebody's house and they were from Guam. Okay. I don't remember what they looked like. I just remembered that they made us like a Guam meal and I drank coconut milk. He cut open the coconut and I drank the milk from the coconut. I remember that. I didn't mean it in a negative connotation. I mean, I've spent most of my life in the South, and it just carried on where I didn't look at people as to what color they were, but people would draw attention to it, if this
I
makes
get
any
it.
sense.
I get it. And for the record, I'm not offended. So, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying that, I grew up a Navy brat. So I moved all over the country as a Navy brat. I get it. I'm just saying that I've heard my whole life, this basic, dichotomy here. And then what ends up getting promoted about the South. Okay. I had a client, like I said on the last stream, I don't want to go into what I do for a living because it's very public facing, but I had a client that moved to South Alabama, where I'm at, from Chicago. And they were just shocked and surprised that we, for the most part, we all get along down here. Because they have been told this stuff from the media, the news, the public school system and stuff.
Hold on, Dane. I think Aki had something he was going to say.
Let me address what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but me being from the Bronx of New York City, not Brooklyn or any place like that. I'm from the Bronx.
Boogie down.
My father was a Black Panther. I definitely knew inside my house that I was black, but in the streets, they didn't tease you because you were black. They tease you because of what you had on.
Mm-hmm.
They said there was some whack ass sneakers you got on. Where'd you get that cheap jacket from? They never said, oh, you're black. And then when I moved to Atlanta, all of a sudden it's a black and white city, not a melting pot. And the first thing I see on the news is Wayne Williams. And now all of a sudden I have to realize that I'm a monster down here. That's what I'm talking about.
If I could respond to that.
And the media perpetuates that. And so I lived in Atlanta for 30 years. I went to middle school, high school, and most of my adult life until I moved to Raleigh, and then I came here. So I know racism when I see it, and I do know now you can argue that in the North, yeah, there's a lot of black on black crime, but people kill people who they live in proximity to. So it's just like, you come to this. Listen, it's hard to explain, but the bottom line is that
I think we all get what you're saying though on that.
If I can respond
real quickly, Dane, if you can respond real quick, and then I have another question for the panel. And Cola, did you have anything you wanted to say after Dane?
Cola, it looks like she frozen or something.
All right, well, go ahead, Dane.
She frozen with the least attractive. Okay, she going now. I'm just saying that would be the worst frame to get frozen on for a woman. But no, I get what you're saying, Aki. I do. But when you say, well, I moved to Atlanta and that's where I learned that I was a monster. Okay. All right. So when someone says to you, you're a monster, whatever words they use for that, that ends up causing an emotional response where you might get your feelings hurt. You might get mad. You might feel threatened. There's an emotional stimulation. Okay. So what? When I was 10 years old, I moved from a little small town.
When I say I found out I was a monster, I'm not literally talking about me.
I understand that. I understand that. But I understand that. We're talking about hypotheticals in general terms and figurative language. I get it. But what I'm saying is, when I was 10 years old, I moved from a little bitty town in South Mississippi to North Charleston, not Charleston, North Charleston, South Carolina. When my mother married my stepfather, he was in the Navy. I moved there. That is a very majority black town. I ended up in elementary school, 5th grade, Chicora Elementary School. If you don't believe my story, go look up Chicora Elementary School. I showed up. I talked funny compared to them. They said, where you from? I'm from Mississippi. I toted butt whoopings because I was thought of as a racist because I was from Mississippi. And I remember in 5th grade thinking, South Carolina's the ones who seceded from the Union first, fools. I was a smart kid and I was a smart aleck kid. But I told a bunch of butt whoopings because of that. So when we say, well, I moved to Atlanta and that's when I was exposed to this and I was basically told that I was less of a person or whatever. Okay, that causes an emotional response. But were people beating you? Were they denying you services? Were they mistreating you?
Definitely.
Well, I haven't seen that, but they're not burning their town down. They're not organizing.
And on top of that, I was being beat down. A lot of black men in the South are beat down by elitist black people.
I just find it interesting that in your story a minute ago, when you said I moved to Atlanta, I found out I was a monster. Being called a monster ends up hurting feelings. So you chose to talk about your feelings being hurt and not physical violence towards you, which supports my point that down south, let me finish what I'm saying. I'll be glad to shut up, which supports my point that down south, no, we're not perfect. I mean, I have relatives that I really don't have anything to do with because they're so ignorant and hateful. But down south, it's out in the open. It's in the streets. Like I said on the last stream I was on with Soapbox, the South's been integrated since the beginning at night. So, but it's out in the streets. People say what they think, and the ignorant ones, the racist ones, the hateful ones, they get to say what they think, and the other ones get to say what they think, and we, for the most part, live in peace. But you go to this place in the North where everybody's happy, and I don't see you as a black man. I see you as a man. But in their mind, they bend them like a powder keg, and all it takes is a spark, and boom. And that's my point.
All right, Rocky.
Okay, Mr. Mississippi. But the thing about I'm not trying to be disparaging. I'm just saying you don't have a big city experience to pull from. You just going.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Tell me everything you know about where I've lived in my life and the size of those cities. Okay, you don't know. You pulled that out of your butt. You pulled that out of your butt, and you didn't mean for it to be disparaging. So at least stand on business and be disparaging. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. You ain't got a lot of me. Be disparaging.
I'm not trying to hurt your feelings.
You're not hurting my feelings. You're not hurting my feelings. You're being disingenuous. And
hold on, Dan. Let I could get a chance to respond.
My mother's from North Charleston by way of Wando, South Carolina, and Mount Pleasant. My father's from Pittsboro, North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I spent every summer of my childhood in Charleston and in Pittsboro, North Carolina. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Your mother being from here and your father being from there is not a logical argument to engage with the argument that I just said. It's not. So what I would like for you to do is stop trying to polish it up and say, I'm not being disparaging. Be disparaging. Let's get into it. Let's slug it out. And when it's all over, let's get down to what the truth is. And then me and you can have a drink together. We can have lunch together. We can shake it out. We can hug it out. I'm going to love you. You can love me. Stop with this stuff about, I'm not being disparaging. And then you'll be disparaging. Be honest. Be honest. Let's stand on business as two men and let's get to the end of it.
Offended. So that's why I said I'm not trying to be disparaging. You all in your feelings. Your feelings.
Not offended. Not offended. I'm speaking the truth.
Hold on, Dan. Let go ahead, Aki. What is the disagreement? What is the main disagreement?
There is none. You know, he likes to use semantics. I said the word monster instead of the N-word, so he decided he was going to take that and run with it because words mean everything to him, and I agree with that. But you know, he wants to control the narrative, and that's fine. Go ahead.
Wade, did you have anything you wanted to say, Wade?
No, I'm good.
Words do matter. I would be thrilled to hear Aki explain how he communicates and understands reality without using words. That's what it is.
I think Aki said he agreed with about the importance of words. He said he made the theatric about it, but then he said, which
I know, but he was sure to just say something about how I'm like obsessed with words either. Semantics is a very important part of logic, Aki. And I'm just asking you to engage with my actual argument instead of making ad hominems, speaking to my character and what you think my experiences are in large cities, small cities, or that sort of stuff.
I never spoke on your character. I don't even know you.
But I'm asking you, well, you just talked about how I was in my feelings and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. I'm asking you to engage with my argument in logic. You didn't. You described me, and you tried to say. Can I finish what I'm saying? Can I finish what I'm saying? Can I finish what I'm saying?
And this one, you need to read this one for sure, because something's wrong with your logic.
See that? That's character.
Saying, some John Fugel saying, separation of church and hate. You need to read this.
Are you finished so I can finish what I'm saying? Are you finished? Okay. Holding a book up in a camera.
That's all I need to do.
Excuse me. No, what you need to do. I'm asking you to engage with actual logic. If you'll engage with logic, objectiveness. Can I finish what I'm saying? Stop. Stop. Can I finish what I'm saying? I don't care how stupid I look.
Fellas.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
Hold on, both of y'all. Hold on, fellas. Let's
right.
Hold on, Aki. Hold on, Vulcan, you want to take over and moderate this, or how?
Well, I think we covered as much as we can on that point right there. We're pretty much wrapping it up. I want to restate and give anybody opportunity to say anything they want to say to close it out. But on this topic specifically, but the tweet was, I think it was a tweet anyway, that for Black people, they are going to more identify with their race over being a Christian. And so I'm curious, does anybody see any merit in this comment right here?
I do have something to say about that I think will be more on topic if you know.
Okay, real quick. So I'll go to Wade first. Wade, do you have anything you want to say on that topic?
Nope.
Okay. Aki, did you have anything you want to say on that topic?
On that tweet right there in particular?
Yeah, do you think there's any legitimacy to the tweet that Blacks will identify as Black first as opposed to identifying as Christian first?
No, a lot of people identify as Christian first. A lot of people don't realize that Black people are very conservative. So a lot of people identify as Christians first and then Black.
Okay, if you had to throw a percentage out there for it, what percentage of Black people you think would identify that would identify as Christian at all would identify as more
I really don't know, so I can't speak on that because I don't know the number for sure. But I know there's a lot of evangelical Black Christians out there. There's a lot of them.
Would you say it's like more than 10% or?
For sure. It's probably more like 50, 60% in the South, maybe a little less in the North.
That would identify more as Christian than Black or Black than Christian?
The Christian than Black.
Okay.
Christian first.
All right, let me get to the comments. I don't. Shout out to I'm Kev. Pev said I don't have much. I agree with the original tweet, but the way every person of color on the panel didn't put religion first shows the kernel truth.
If I can say something about that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't want to be disrespectful. I know that guy. I say he come off my stream, but he come off my stream. He actually is part Dominican. I think he's part Dominican, maybe full Dominican. So just let y'all know if that kind of shrouds your interpretation whatsoever there. That's it, or whatever. So yeah, that's Kevin. He and I had
this. He said this earlier. This is wild. But go ahead, finish your statement.
No, that's it. That's it. You got to cut me off. You know, if I get to rambling, bro, you got to step up and tell me to shut up. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings, bro. I know me.
Yeah, this was an interesting comment. It said, as someone, that was the last topic for the audience. We was talking about interracial relationships. He said, as someone who doesn't like race mixing, these guys are idiots. Shout out to Blood Logos. Oh, this is somebody else different, but I wanted to read that too. That was my bad. He said full. Oh, okay. Say he's full Dominican. Okay.
And proud, right. I see, but he's still dumb and he's still wrong. I had a debate with him on my channel a couple of nights ago. He's wrong. Oh, yeah. He's a smart guy. He is a smart guy. Now I'm gonna give you that, and I'm proud that he's a young guy. At his age, he wanted to get involved with this kind of stuff. He's still wrong.
All right. Well, I guess if that's the case, then we'll go ahead and close it out. Everybody give their closing statements. We'll start with Wade.
No, this was fun. I really had a good time tonight.
That's what's up, man.
Is it what you expected?
It was largely what I expected. Yes.
Okay. Anything else you got?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, cool. This was we had 11 questions. We only got through 5 of them, y'all. Just so y'all know.
Well, look, I got time. I don't have a life, so. I don't have a life. I don't have a job, man. So let's go.
Yeah. So Dane, what you got for your closing statement?
Well, in my closing statement, I want to point out how funny I think it is that Wade over there just decided when me and Aki were going back and forth, he was like, I ain't got nothing. I ain't getting involved in this. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That's between them. He taking a safe route. I think that a lot of the topics that we've had tonight, I unreasonably, illogically assign a lot of, because a lot of our topics had to do with criticisms of Black people. And I think that a lot of it ends up unreasonably assigning those things as a Black thing when in fact it's a society-wide thing. So, and that's the way I see it. That's my experience. That's what I see in the data that I look at, is that, you know, like the thing of Black churches being weak on theology. Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, Paula White.
I was thinking the same thing.
T.D. Jakes. Come on, man. Let's be for real. You know, that sort of stuff. I think that these kind of conversations really need to be had more and more and more. Oh, our key up here, he's wrong. He dead wrong. But I'm going to go subscribe to his channel. I guess it's Good and Crazy News YouTube, because at least he'll put up a fight. You know, whatever. That other guy, Man on the Streets, I'm going to go subscribe to his channel too. He seems to be a pretty principled guy. But I've enjoyed the podcast. I really have enjoyed the podcast. I appreciate y'all having me on again and everything. But Wade, stop being so chicken. Stop being so chicken, man. Step on in here. Duke it out.
All right, Aki, for yourself, what's your closing statement?
I just want to say it was fun. It was cool. You know, I'm not the most articulate person in the room, but you know, I'm well read and I know what I'm talking about. When I say something, I mean it. So I'd like to come with facts, not fiction or emotion. I'm emotional. I will say that. But you know, my experience is my experience and I stand on it. So evangelicals, get out the way. Real Christians are over here.
I agree with that last statement too. I'm gonna be honest with you.
So just so everybody knows, so just getting into my closing statement right here. It was a great show. I expected to have some fireworks in it. And the thing that was special to me about this, knowing the panel that was going to be on and also the subject matter that was going to be covered, is you really don't only see these types of conversations, especially when it's a diverse panel like this, on major outlets like news outlets. And it's very quick, Everybody has to get their points in really quick, and they got to cut the commercial break. A lot of the shows you typically watch online, there's either one demographic kind of dominates the conversation. This is more split down the middle. We can have a conversation, and we can let people get into it a little bit. And I want everybody to know in the audience and also on the panel, like, feel free to cross-examine somebody. You know, I'll try to pull it out if I can, if I think it's there and it's just kind of hidden. But feel free to say, I would like to cross-examine, or I disagree with so and so. We can always do that. I want to let the audience know and the panel know what the questions are for next week. The first one is, does white or black privilege exist and why? Is code switching real? Why? Does white or black supremacy exist and why you think that? Is cultural appropriation wrong? Is hip hop a net positive or a net negative for black or white people? And the last one is this: was Charlie Kirk's criticism of black people or black culture a good or bad thing? So those are the questions for next week we'll be going over. So just so everybody understand, tune in for part 2. And we appreciate y'all joining the Vulcan Soapbox, and we are out.
Good night.